X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who spit facts online all the time. Can you see it? All the ones who drag my name every single day. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? They keep saying you don't have what it takes to carve out your own name underneath the shadows of gods. And I keep waiting for the day disbelievers say I flew way too close to the sun. I wait, but it never really comes. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all right shackled minds. Why do they just stand there against when they fall from the battles I have overcome? You feel it, feel the cope and the seething tone that they make while I stand up, man among gods. And I keep thinking with my mill, shooting ropes in my cold that faces towards the sun. They hate, but I'm sitting comfy with their mom. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all that shackled mind. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all right shackled minds. It's you and me, your mom, it's me. I'll take another hit from my name. You'll see now, watch me right now, punch your things now. Show you how.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to be back on stream with you all. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you're all doing well. Good to see you, Night Moth, Water, Cryptid Tea, Daughter of Water, I Drink Drano, nice name, Roundabout, Angel Brat 87, good to see you, haven't seen you in a while. Water, again, doing the little emote. Hasan, what's good, good to see you. Coin Dog, what's up? Sticks No Badger, good to see you. Been here all this time, hello. Paladin Jukes, good to see you. Grass of Triton, what's up? Grilled Feline, how are you? Jared the Rabbit, glad to see you. Arcadia, what's up? Gumdrop Cat, how are you? Hey Xander Hall, I just had an amazing D&D session where my Otterfolk Barbarian did 87 damage in one turn. Was a critical plus extra attack. Very good. Very good. That's pretty awesome. Sounds cool. I myself am not the biggest D&D guy. You know, I've given it a good strong try several times, and it's just a bit too slow paced. And then I tried Warhammer, the tabletop. I was like, wow, this is so much more that problem. Thank goodness you're streaming. I'm having a rough day. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Cryptid T. Well, I can happily say I'm not having all that bad of a day. I will say I had a little bit of a, listen, don't get mad at me, chat. I had a little bit of a run-in with CS. You see, I played a lot of CSGO back in the day. I had about 580, maybe 90 hours in the game. Back in 2016 and 2017, but I quit when Fortnite came out, and that kind of became my main game. And so I got real rusty. I basically forgot all my skill. Like, I you know, am not good at the game anymore. But I came back for Counter-Strike 2, and just absolutely suck shit at it. So much so that I kept repeatedly getting vote kicked out of competitive lobbies, or I should say premier lobbies, for being so bad at the game that they accused me of trolling because they could see how many hours I had from back in the day. And I was like, guys, I swear I'm not trolling. I'm just bad at the game and coming back after a really long time. And they just say, no, it's very obvious you're trying, you're trolling. And then they would just vote kick me and I'd be stuck with a ban and have to wait 30 minutes. So I uninstalled the game after about the 5th time it happened, which was literally earlier today, so no longer playing CS2. Also, look at this shit. I found out about this after playing CS2. If they fix this, maybe I'll return to the game to see if my gameplay is any better, because I was pretty decent at the game back in the day. Like, I was way better than I am now. I never, like, bottom fragged back in my peak. Unless it was, like, a really bad match I was having, which is weird. But, something came out, which, literally today this came out. Right after I uninstalled the game, because I was told I was bad. This came out, and kind of made me, happy that I've uninstalled, and I don't plan to play it again until they fix this. This video is only 40 seconds, but it explains something that might be the most bullshit bug to ever exist in a game.
Boxes in CS2 are broken at the moment. Players have been pointing out a few problems. A major one which recently popped up within the last week is players' hitboxes as they crouch. This clip from Joel shows how crazy it actually is. What you see for the enemy's head when they're crouched down is...
So this is the hitbox. All these wireframes you see are the hitbox, and this is the model that you would see and shoot. This has been the state of the hitboxes through all of CS2's launch. The fact is, I think I actually have pretty good aim. The problem is, you need to have pretty bad aim to actually hit anything with the state the game's in right now. That is insane. That is fucking insane. I've never felt more vindicated for uninstalling a game like this in my entire life, because there's absolutely no reason to touch the game until this has been fully fixed. Better chance of spraying and praying. You literally have a better chance of hitting them by deliberately missing. It's insane. Here.
Boxes in CS2 are broken at the moment. Players have been pointing out a few problems. A major one which recently popped up within the last week is players' hitboxes as they crouch. This clip from Joel shows how crazy it actually is. What you see for the enemy's head when they're crouched down isn't actually where the hitbox is, leading you to be able to put an entire mag into a head and not get a single kill. This isn't just happening to T side, it's also for CT, and it also appears like it's not only when you're crouching, even if you're standing up and looking down. The worst though is when you're looking down with your knife or your bomb out, as the lineup to the model is very far off. Let's hope a fix comes in the next few days that will get an update to all the hitboxes to be correct.
Like, it's literally just unplayably bad. It's fucking old CS hitboxes, it looks like. Yeah, they need to fix it ASAP. It's completely broken and unacceptable. I imagine it will be fixed quickly, like within days, but I will not be touching the game until that shit is fixed. Inca I'm so sorry, I can't speak today. Inca Reunan, Thank you so much for the 10 euro pounds. I think that's euros. Yeah, no, I am certain now that's euros because I was watching Anomaly case unboxings and he's a European, and the little C with the lines through it is a euro. So 10 euros. Thank you. Says, been a while since I caught your stream. Y'all have a fun stream. I was just gonna go to sleep. I will, and everyone else coming by, remember to drop a like. Oh, well, thank you so much for the donation and the kind words. Thank you, thank you. Remember, everybody, if you're here and you're having a good time and you want to support my content, please consider dropping a like. It's completely free, and all you have to do is just hit that thumbs up button beneath the stream. It forces YouTube to actually tell people I've gone live or uploaded videos. For those that don't know, YouTube doesn't tell your audience that you've uploaded or gone live unless certain conditions are met. A small portion of your audience that is the most likely to watch you no matter what is told that you've gone live. And based on the watch time and the interaction with that audience, that determines how much attention YouTube gives to the rest of your audience and even new people to your stream. So you guys hitting like, you guys commenting, talking in the chat, these are things that massively help the stream. Yeah, I got it right. Steve Lodge, I unfortunately have a pretty significantly large Discord server, so it's hard to find messages in the way that you describe. As a YouTube Premium watcher, I don't get why I don't get the notifications. I have the bell rung. Yeah, Angel Brat, I don't know why either. It's really just a matter of YouTube implementing worse and worse features to fuck over smaller creators, you know? It takes a pretty substantial amount of contribution on the part of the viewers in terms of interaction and viewership in order to get your videos sent out to even your own subscribers who have all of the, the bell rung and all that stuff. Yeah. YouTube decides when it wants to tell people stuff. Yeah. I can't make it do anything. Like, I can't, like, if there was a button I could press that would make YouTube tell all my subs I've gone live, I would hit it every time I've uploaded or gone live. There'd be no question about it. But, you guys have to hit that button. It's called the like button. Francisco Q, thank you for the $5 donation. Thank you so much. Says, yo, caught your video on Lance from the Surfs being a Weasley little scumbag. Glad you said it, bro. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I actually, funnily enough, I had a Lance defender come into the comments on that video defending Kiwi Farms. It was bizarre. It was very bizarre. I don't know if it was a troll or an op or what, but yeah. Very, very bizarre. How you doing, Hemorrhoid King? I hope you're having a good one. We can still grow, though, thankfully. Like, I just hit 4.3k. Hell yeah, Pillow, congratulations. But deadass, I tried to usher people into my Discord to try to get traction. It's unfortunate. You gotta get people in the Discord, and you gotta post those announcements there. I wish I had a bot that auto-posted there when I uploaded. I don't know why we don't already have that set up. Probably because Discord broke bots. I'm gonna see if I can get somebody or like a group of people in charge of just making an @everyone announcement and posting whenever a new video comes out, so that there's just another form of notification that I've uploaded. I think Riverboat Jack has one. I'd need to look into which one they use. I thought like Discord axed all the bots though. I don't know. Doesn't Dino have it? Maybe it does. I don't know. Anyway, that said, as much as I used to love CS back in the day, I'm fine losing a game or two every now and then, but if it's like an 8-round losing or 8 game, not round, game, like matches, like going in and queuing into a premier lobby, 8 losses in a row and then like 1 win, and I'm like clawing my way to the first 10 competitive wins you need to get your rank, or the premier wins you need to get your rank. That's not normal. There's something going on, and it's very obvious that the hitboxes being off is playing a small part, at least. I know I'm rusty, but Those hitboxes are monstrous, dude. Anyway, with all that said, I have a pretty stacked schedule for today, guys. Like, today's stream is really, really exciting for me because I've got a lot of cool stuff I have planned for us to talk about. And it's going to be a big and long stream, which means I'm going to have to stay up fairly late tonight streaming for you guys, which isn't going to be fun for me after a certain point, but I have a feeling you guys are going to appreciate it. I've been gone for quite a while. You see, my mom came to visit for 3 weeks. For about 4 or 5 days, she stayed here, like, coming to visit me, and then we had to catch a plane from Seattle to Florida, stayed in Florida for 10 days. Then we came back to Seattle. She stayed here for about 5 more days, and then she just left yesterday. As you can imagine, all of this threw off my schedule and my ability to stream quite significantly. You know, I'm pretty certain I have ADHD, and anyone in chat who has ADHD can probably imagine why it would be more difficult to schedule things when there's such a hectic mix-up going on. You know, like, you just get it. You just know. Like, I don't even have to put it into words. You just get it. Get this man some meth. Get this man some prescribed meth. Yeah, so basically, it's been unfortunate and very stressful for me that I haven't been able to make content for you guys as much lately. But now that things are back to normal, expect a stream today, a stream tomorrow, and a day after the tomorrow, and a whole lot more videos getting uploaded. Because, oh, you better believe I want to hit 100K by the end of the year. We have got to hit 100K subs by the end of the year. That is the goal. Yeah, Zan, I'm pretty damn sure you have ADHD, not as bad as mine, luckily. Yeah, a lot of people close to me also think the same, except my mom, who has always resisted that suggestion, even when I had teachers and even some doctors suggest it when I was a kid. Pay attention to your side effects, especially if you end up having to change meds because of ongoing shortages, Zan. Yeah, the funny thing is, it's only been more recently when I've started talking to people about, like, just things that frustrate me, like random shit that you would normally not talk about, just me, like, venting about it with some friends that you know, themselves have ADHD, like, diagnosed and have prescribed medication. They're like, oh, that sounds exactly like ADHD. And it just keeps happening over and over again, like me describing the way I regiment my thoughts and my way of going about completing tasks, to what upsets me, to what makes me happy, to what I get hyper-fixated on, what motivates me to work. Just like every single thing, just textbook ADHD. $114 people watching and 60 likes, unacceptable. True! Hit that like button, guys. Even if you're on mobile or on a, like, TV, you can hit the like button. If you have, like, the little remote, you can, like, just hit the thing and then there's a little... You can like things even on TV. As long as you're logged in. The Rust hyperfixation was fun, though. Listen to me. When I hit 100,000 subs, I am going to make a Discord server. I might have already made it, to be honest. I'm going to make a Discord server where I'm going to bring in as many of my fans as I can that have Rust. And I want to build a fucking army and dominate a server with, like, a 600 player cap or 1,000 player cap. I want to build the biggest Zerg, build a fortress, kit ourselves out, and own a server. More than 50 players if we can manage it. Out of 100,000 subs, I should be able to get over 100 people. I'd like it to be 50 people on minimum at any given time from the group. That would be dope. Well, ADHD has had a lot of overlap with other neurodiverse things too, but it is pretty common with technology making attention spans worse. It is likely it is on the rise. GTA 6 online server. The funny thing is, I'm literally from the setting of GTA 6. Like, seeing those leaks was so uncanny for me, because it's like, holy shit. So, for one, I lived in Palm Springs, which was literally part of Grand Theft Auto 5's map, and was like, you know, an hour away from LA. And then, you know, so I've lived in GTA 5's map. And I used to live in what is about to be GTA 6's map. This tells me GTA 7 has to take place in Seattle. It's the only logical conclusion, guys. Has to be. I'm already predicting GTA 7 in 2023. To be fair, you know the instant GTA 6 comes out, that's gonna be the meme. Like, you can say goodbye to fake GTA 6 or I have a copy of GTA 6 videos. It's all gonna be GTA 7. It's gonna be like the end of an era of the internet. Do you remember how much GTA 6 leaked copy clickbait like dominated YouTube back in the day? Tens of millions of views on those fake videos by dudes with like the curly zoomer fade cut who would like, and glasses that would like annoyingly like and nasally scream into their camera about how they got like a secret illegal copy of GTA 6 from Rockstar, their friend that works at Rockstar, and they're gonna play it and they put it into the console and something goes wrong and they rage out about it and the video ends and they say, "Oh, it's a scam, man," but the video's still clickbait saying that they have a copy of GTA 6 and they're just that shameless. That was such an era of YouTube. If you don't remember that, then you have not witnessed the levels of degenerate shamelessness that were prevalent on this platform at like one point. It's bad now, but it unironically was way worse at one point. Yeah, like Fernando. Yeah, you got the reference, Apillo. Hell yeah. Now he does incest bait. Oh wow, that's an unsurprising evolution. I like how I read that and it was just like, I had no surprise. Like no part of my body experienced shock upon learning that information. That just seems like such a perfect evolution. My dad works at Microsoft and let me play the Xbox 720. God, who remembers that? Steve Lodge, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate that. Very kind of you. Says funding the Zan bulking arc. Oh, hell yeah. When I have quail and they're laying an egg, like multiple eggs a day, you better believe I'm going to be eating a lot of fried rice with little egg in it and maybe mix in some chicken and steak. Ooh, that's going to be like so many meals a day. In order for me to bulk at all because of my hyper-fast metabolism, I have to be full 24/7. Like, that is how much of a hard gainer I am, okay? I literally cannot ever be hungry, God forbid, or, like, at a normal level of full and hungry, like, halfway there, like, my stomach feels like nothing. I have to feel stuffed all the time, and I mean 24/7 as much as possible. If I can get up in the middle of the night to eat little like nighttime meals to keep myself full while I'm sleeping, that will help too. That's actually better because, you know, I'm not burning off any calories. My body genuinely burns calories that quickly, and I'm talking about when idle. All right? When idle. You guys have commented a lot on my weight loss, right? Like, you guys have noticed it. It's literally because I got lazy on keeping myself stuffed all the time. And, 'cause it's not very pleasant, to be honest. And if you add exercise on top of that, like lifting weights, walking, running, anything like that, on top of that, I need way more calories. The problem is my stomach. Because I went so long eating normally, like a normal person, and not, you know, just absolutely eating all the time and being full all the time, my stomach has shrunk. When you eat a lot, your stomach, you know, expands. It stretches. Its ability to get bigger and fit more food, you know, increases slowly, gradually over time. And when you don't do that for a long time, it stops doing that. So for example, if you are overweight, chances are, not always, you probably eat a lot of food, you probably overeat a lot of not healthy food, and if you stop doing that and went on a big time diet, not only would you lose that weight, but after a certain point, your stomach would shrink, which would mean you would literally get full faster. Like, you would literally need way less food to get full. To give you perspective on how significant this effect is, when I was like 16, my parents would take me to a place called The Freezer, fantastic restaurant, and I would eat an entire cart, like little box of, or entire big box, the largest box they have of their steamed shrimp. I would eat the whole box, and I'd be hungry for more. And my mom would be like, no, it's too expensive, you can't have another box. I went there again with my mom while in Florida, and I bought a large box, got about 60% of the way through it, and I was stuffed. Absolutely stuffed. That really puts into perspective how much of an effect your stomach being stretched has, and I've been trying to train it up. A big way of doing this has been, I've been using Popeye's combo menu orders as my measurement for how much I'm stretching my stomach and becoming capable of eating more. I'm not even joking. I started out by only being able to eat comfortably a 3-piece chicken tender Popeyes combo with the Cajun mashed potatoes and gravy and a biscuit. That was all I could handle to start with. Now I've upgraded to the 5-piece. I can handle the 5-piece now, but I feel pretty full at the end of that. So I'm just gonna keep doing that shit until I start still feeling hungry after that. Like, I could still have a little bit on top of that. And so on and so on. Because I don't think you guys understand how much food I used to be able to put away. A large part of that was because I was on the swim team, but yeah. But that's what I got to do to gain weight. And of course, I'll be working out too. Though I need to get a nice brace or 2 braces for my elbows, because I've got really bad elbow joints and they click whenever I do curls, and it's really, really not good. It's really not good. Because, like, the first click is, like, silent, but, like, I feel it. And the second click is, like, really quiet. And the third click is, like, louder. And then the fourth is louder. Fifth is louder. Sixth is louder. And then eventually, I feel a consistent pain in my joint from where the clicking was. And it's, like, there whenever I move my arm this way. And I don't feel it now because I haven't done curls in a while. But, fuck. It feels really rough to, like, be completely willing to push my muscles through however much discomfort I need to get my reps out, but my joints might literally give out and I might sustain a serious injury if I don't stop. It's really, really upsetting and frustrating. Need a chiropractor? Something. Probably more food is a good, more calories is a good start, probably. I have a suspicion, if you will. More calories is the key. Xanderhall, I'm wearing the Booba shirt right now. Gender Euphoria Pog. Hell yeah, Daughter of Water. Enjoy the Xanderhall Booba shirt. For those that don't know, I have merch. There is Xanderhall merch. If you go down in the description, you can go to my merch store, and I've got all sorts of different merch, and one of them is a tank top, which I just thought would be funny to name the Xanderhall Booba shirt. Like the women's tank top. Like, I just thought because Booba. I thought it'd be funny. So go buy a Xanderhall Booba shirt. Hell yeah. Steve Lodge, thank you for the $5 dono, not super chat. Dono, thank you. No Chump Change, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the $5. Said, I keep forgetting to renew. Auto renew activate. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you for the auto renew. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the $5. No worries on forgetting to sub, though. I do appreciate your auto-renew, though. Cherry T21, I really appreciate those 5 tier 1 gifted subs as well, and I hope Death died today. Nightmoth, Red Clay, Water, and Jared the Rabbit appreciate them too. Thank you so much. Said, heading to the casino on Wednesday. Wish me luck. Ooh. And also a link. Good luck at the casino. Oh my god, another Glorb video. This one's called Vengeance, guys. We've got another Glorb music video to watch. Alright, let's bust down a little bit.
Let me just grab this. Yep, put that there, zap that. Grab this here little voice module, insert that, add the BBL, and oh my god, Karen, baby, you're back!
Back with a vengeance, a Mac got extended. More than an arrest, I am snapping Avengers. Back from the dead, bitch, I came at the trenches. I'm scared and red, leave them dead like redemption.
Yeah!
And it's paint, pick a black red.
Yeah!
And it's paint, pick a black red.
Yeah!
And it's paint, pick a black red. And it's paint, pick a black red. Solid state drive by on your whole crew. Wi-Fi guys did a bad, did a drive-through. Sending you a nut slug, plus you a hoe too. I know you getting balls dragged down you like Goku. Don't get me started on that crowd. He the father of the year to that tubby little slide pearl. I let my husband fuck you as a joke. Shit, I would say kill yourself, but you'd probably break the rope, bitch. Yeah, let's talk about the sponge too. How the fuck a fully
Holy fuck, I am going to use that in the future. You better believe I'd tell you to kill yourself, but you'd probably break the rope is going to be used by me in some competitive game lobbies in the future. That's going in the file, dude. Holy shit. That was fire.
grown man doing kung fu. Plus I heard around that clam, him and Squiddy hit that can, and he showed him what they
Listen, when I'm shit talking in a game lobby, it's because someone deserves it, okay?
tongue dope. Back with a vengeance, a Mac got extended.
I'm nice at
More
randos
than
in
an
games.
arrest, I am snapping Avengers. Back from the dead, bitch, I came at the trenches. I'm scared and red, leave them dead like redemption. And it's paint, pick a black red. And it's paint, pick a black red. And it's paint, pick
Okay. That was really good, but we can't watch the whole thing. That was good. I appreciate that. Hopefully you get big wins at the casino, though. I'm rooting for you. I'm hoping for you. Win lots of money so you can donate lots of money to me. I mean, so you can have a happy, fruitful life and spend it on good things and put it into savings. Not donate it to your favorite YouTuber, Xanderhall. I would never suggest that unless you want it to, you know, JK, unless... Anyway, Xana's gonna get let back on Elon's Twitter, drop that line, and immediately get banned again. Can I get back on? Let's see. How's my Twitter doing? Should I submit? We should make it like a little like segment we do every stream where I submit my ban appeal, my unban appeal for Twitter. Do I not have one? Can I not? What if I try to tweet? Okay, so it says I'm banned still, but I can't send an appeal? Cool. That's not my fans, that's people doing, like, yard work at 6:30 p.m. for some fucking reason. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're repairing something. I don't know. They're allowed to do what they want. It's their property. Anyway. Apparently I'm, like, so banned from Twitter, I don't even have the option to send an appeal. Oh, wait. Can I click learn more? File an appeal. Here we go. Man, they've really hidden it from my account. Description of the problem. I was banned for my conservative values. I dared to speak the truth, and the radical leftist moderators... I shouldn't insult the moderators because they're the ones that are going over. The radical leftist mob mass reported me. Submit. Okay. We do this every day until eventually we get let back in. Another patriot gone. I've literally sent like 100 appeals, by the way. Anyway, speaking of Twitter-like platforms, I have 5 backed up Blue Sky invite codes that I need to like airdrop into the chat and give out to people. I think what I'll do is I'll give out 2 codes right now and then save the remaining 3 for future streams. Oh, people are putting in codes as well. Yeah, if you've got codes that you don't need, feel free to drop them in chat. And make sure to follow me on Blue Sky, because the more of you who follow me, the more reason I have to post on the platform, because there's actual engagement, you know? Hell yeah. Damn, you guys be dropping those codes. Yeah, make sure to sign up for Blue Sky with these codes. In the meantime, I'm going to drop my 3 codes. Here's code number 1. Or my 2 codes. And here's code number 2. Enjoy your Blue Sky accounts, those of you who are now able to get onto the platform. I hope to see those get used. If you're lucky, you will be fast enough. And of course, you do have to be in website chat to get, you know, to be fast enough to get these codes. So make sure you're in website chat if you want to try and get on Blue Sky. Hell yeah, I see some of you guys following me. Nice, nice. Good to see, good to see. Love that. Good to see. Don't bother with Twitter. It's not worth anyone's time anymore. To be fair, I do miss being able to DM people that I could only DM on Twitter. Blue Sky doesn't have DMs, and a lot of the people that I had, like, as mutuals on Twitter, I no longer can contact because I don't have them on, like, Discord, which is, like, the other messaging app, or Instagram, maybe, as, like, an alternative. So there are certain people that I literally just can't talk to anymore that I was, like, mutuals with that I would talk to regularly, which that really does suck. But, yeah, outside of that, the website was really just good for doom scrolling when bored. It was nice to read just random, like, tweets. But you can get that from Blue Sky as well if you just bring enough people into it, so that's the goal. Zan stream right as I finish work. Hell yeah, Fish Sneeze, welcome. All right. No more lollygagging. We are going to get right into our segments. I'm also going to shut my window because it's getting unironically quite cold in here, funnily enough. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Let's get our first segment set up. Steve Lodge, that's pretty sus. That's pretty sussy-wussy. Prepare for that Pacific Northwest winter. I love the cold. I love the cold. I fucking love it. I like the cold because it's very... You know what I can do to warm myself up if I'm cold while streaming? Put a blanket over my legs, and turn on that space heater I have over there and set it to blow on me. Boom, I'm nice and warm and cozy and toasty. And I'm comfortable. Like, it's like super comfortable when you're like cold, but then you've got like a nice cozy blanket and a space heater. That's comfy. What you can't do is be sweaty, disgusting, overheated, and have like turn on a fan and have that be enough. The only way is to have good AC, which just makes it cool. And, like, I like being in a cold climate because then I spend less money on AC. And, you know, I have to work less hard to reach a comfortable temperature, if that makes sense. As long as there's power. I definitely want to get a place with a fireplace because, if it, like, blizzards and the power goes out, I want to be able to make a fire and not freeze to death. Yeah, it's easier to be cold than it is to be hot, in my opinion. Anyway. That said, I appreciate all of your support so far. Please consider dropping a like, donating, subscribing, all that good stuff. let's start with the first segment, huh? Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. Well, everybody, I can't be happier to say, or I couldn't be happier to say, I should say, that Hasan has lately dropped in public approval rating in the eyes of much of this sphere of the left. It's been very frustrating to me as, like, countless red flags in the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, have come up for me when it comes to Hasan. In the last year in particular, they've been the most egregious and the most impossible to ignore. And no matter how much I bring them up or try to at least, you know, make them a point of discussion, people get hyper offended and want to defend him. And I get it. Hasan has been, for quite a while, a pretty damn effective mouthpiece for left-wing ideas. Hasan is like the ultimate normie bait dude bro of online lefty political content. He appeals to normies. He's really good at, like, immersing himself into Twitch culture. He is in the super high-level clout sphere of Twitch streamers. He's checks all the boxes for somebody who has the values that you have, or would think that you have, that you would want advocating for your ideas. He for a long time, whether you liked him or not, whether you thought he was annoying or cringe or maybe a little dumb, at the very least, you could agree upon that. Until the Ukrainian versus Russian war went down, where Russia invaded Ukraine, and basically at every turn, both before the invasion itself and throughout, Hasan was literally parroting every single Russian propaganda talking point to defend Russia and justify its actions, changing and moving the goalpost as he goes. First, it was that Russia wasn't going to invade. Then it was that Russia's invasion is justified, just like, according to him, the invasion of Crimea and its annexation. And it goes down the line. And more recently, he got into a big debate on stream with his co-host of a podcast he runs, Ethan Klein, on Taiwan and whether or not it should be part of China and should be, you know, just part of their empire, right? And he, of course, is a simp for any authoritarian regime that simps for communism in name only. And so, sure enough, he defends China, and it caused a pretty big falling out with him and Ethan, from what I could tell. And yeah, he just is in favor of anything that isn't America and is anti-America, more specifically. So recently, everyone's kind of woken up to this fact, despite me saying Hasan is cringe for this reason for the last, like, year and getting nonstop pushback for it. Some people just outright saying, I shit you not, I got multiple comments on videos in which I called out Hasan for defending Russia and China and attacking the people who are being, in the case of China, genocided, and in the case of Russia, invaded for the purpose of imperialist expansion, like insulting the victims and calling them, like, effectively crisis actors. I mean, is there really much difference between what Hasan's doing and what Alex Jones did? Anyway, yeah, I'm always right. I'm very used to it at this point. I'm always very right with lots of pushback. Moving on, though. Lots of people more recently, though, have figured out that Hasan is, you know, in the wrong. But back then, I unironically got multiple comments, as I was saying, that just outright said, yes, Hasan is wrong for saying those things, but I don't care. He's a more valuable tool for the left than you because he's hotter. And I guess there's a certain level of merit there. Like, people are more willing to listen to someone who's more attractive. Like, if you hear someone who's attractive say any take, and then someone who's less attractive say another take, or even the same take, you're probably more likely to lend credence to the attractive person who said it, or to believe the attractive person more likely, which I suppose is fine. But that doesn't really acknowledge the fact that the beliefs Hasan is now peddling quite regularly are antithetical to the values that I would hope we hold. So it doesn't matter in this case, because that's not a factor playing into any positive for the left. In reality, Hasan for a long time has just been a clout-chasing sort of grifter. I think he believes what he believes, but I think a lot of his advocacy is centered around what is popular right now. And I don't think he really has as much of an emotional stake in a lot of the particularly social causes that, you know, bring a lot of people to these figures as he would make you think, or would want you to think. And I think it's quite obvious. Hasan, for example, despite having a pretty large trans audience and like very regularly like virtue signaling about how pro-trans he is and about how he debates and destroys transphobes and transphobia, Hasan is notoriously extremely weak at debating transphobes, or even arguing against transphobia. Like, Hasan has had a habitual weakness in doing this, but he still virtue signals about how good he is at it and how often he does it when he defends himself against criticism. And what that feels like to me is that really he doesn't want to put in the effort or work to research these topics to be able to concisely debate bigots on that type of subject matter, but he recognizes the popularity there is in making content around that subject matter and just wants to virtue signal off of announcing his opinion on it, but not really solidifying his opinion on it, if that makes sense. But if you talk to him about some pseudo communist theory or tanky shit or horrible foreign policy take, he'll jabber on for hours like he knows what he's talking about. But, you know, he stutters when debating a notorious transphobe on his stream and ends up just platforming him to his audience. Anyway, that's the introduction I have for you guys for Hasan. Maybe a little long-winded, but I feel it's somewhat valuable. Cenk Uygur is the, lead face of the Young Turks, a large political media company online that used to be quite left-wing, but these days does not hold that reputation, because one of the other head faces of TYT, Anna Kasparian, basically decided to jump ship and come out as a grifter. She just out of nowhere decided to start taking issue with inclusive language being used in the writing of laws and medical terminology that includes trans men in certain policy around, say, birth control, because it may be relevant that a trans man who is not a woman can still give birth, and so that may be medically relevant for certain writings and certain legal documentation. She saw that and got really upset at the term birthing person. You see, I guess a lot of people assume she's like an old school feminist that saw this as degrading in some way because she likes the word woman and likes women empowerment or whatever. But in reality, it was the first step of a clear switch in political identity for her online persona. And after that, she started going on small, grift tube right-wing podcasts to talk about leaving the left and how she's now politically homeless. And Cenk Uygur, all along the way, has been defending her quite strongly. So, I don't like either of these people. I dislike Cenk Uygur, and I dislike Hasan Piker. Frankly, I could go on for hours more about how much I dislike them, and how much I would like to see their downfall. However, instead, we've got a debate to watch. Recently, Hasan debated his own uncle, Cenk Uygur, on trans issues of all things. You see, Cenk, along with the rest of TYT and Anna Kasparian, have decided they are not going to take they're not going to take a strong position in favor of, say, non-binary people's validity, or the validity of xenogenders, or just anything that someone like Destiny would say is made up as far as trans people go. They see this as a distraction, and they see it as giving ammo to the right. This is, of course, ridiculous. There have always been people who are just too hesitant to go, quote-unquote, too far to the left and get, quote-unquote, too accepting. And it's always been bullshit. It's always just been people who are too hung up on their biases, trying to justify their biases without admitting that it comes from a place of internalized bigotry. It's very obvious that that's what it is. But in the case of TYT, in large part, I think it's them trying to appeal to a more moderate audience after the Bernie era now coming to an end. Like, Bernie is done as far as, like, presidential potential. There's really no, like, financial incentive to put yourself behind socialism when you're in the, like, place of TYT, or even, like, social democracy right now. So appealing more to, like, moderate liberals and being like, hey, yeah, this whole, you know, woke liberal stuff maybe is a little too crazy. But, you know, the right-wing stuff's not the best. You know, don't be a Nazi. That's where they're at right now, it seems, because that's the more, in their eyes, profitable long-term venture for their company. And, you know, to be fair, there aren't really any big presidential figures that are socialist or social democrat, like hyper left-leaning, with a big populist pull that are really getting big right now. If they were, I'd know their names. So, yeah, I can see why a lot of people in this sphere that are just motivated by money, and let's be clear, TYT was business, they were motivated by money, would be kind of jumping ship right now. And so I guess this has led to Hasan, who has I think Hasan is not transphobic. I don't think Hasan is lying when he says he's not transphobic, but I think he's lying when he says that he is in any way educated or well-rounded in his opinion on trans people. Like, I don't think Hasan is very knowledgeable on why trans people are valid. And you can say it's just because they, like, trans people say their identity is what it is and that's how it is, and, you know, because they said so. But as far as arguing to an audience why that's the case, I don't think he's capable. But let's see. Maybe he's improved since the last time I watched him debate this topic. I hate both these people, so watching this debate is going to be really interesting. I am going to, like, turn up the speed on this because, you know, I don't want this to literally go on for fucking ever. You know how often I pause.
Pretend that I brought it up. No, you brought it up, and you made it a giant issue, and you're the one hurting the progressive cause and the trans rights cause. We win on every goddamn issue on trans rights. Why are you going and dying on the hill that no one agrees with you on? You're going to ruin trans rights on other issues.
Okay.
We're going to lose because you're being so extreme. And then every ally you have, you're like...
At no point in human history has the being extreme of, like, a minority group, like, has that minority group being extreme and fighting for their rights resulted in a long-term worse outcome for them. That has never, ever been the case at any point in history. Many times in history, people have argued it would happen and were wrong. During the Civil Rights Movement, during Stonewall, during the women's suffrage movement, and the fight for women to have the right to work. Many people made this argument that said, this is the white moderate argument. Basically, well, let's bring it up. It's the classic letter from Birmingham jail. MLK, letter from Birmingham jail. Classic quote that's very relevant in reference to people that are like this. So this is a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. while he was in jail in Birmingham, Alabama, I believe. I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that black people's great stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the white citizens' counselor, the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice. This is the more, because this is in reference to racial politics. This is the part that is the most important here. I don't know if you would use the term white moderate and have it be nice saves. Listen, I feel like the best way to put into words the way that language has evolved in this sense is that one scene. I say scene, but that one instance in the Stephen King books of The Dark Tower, where Eddie and Detta are on the beach with Roland, and Eddie is a dude like just a white dude from like the late 80s, and Detta is a black woman from the 50s. And so whenever Eddie refers to her as a black woman, because that's more polite than as what she would consider politically correct, she gets really offended and says, "What did you just call me? Black? The fuck? Like, excuse me?" And gets quite upset because at the time in the 50s, the term that I just censored was the more politically correct one. Language changes a lot, and I'm not trying to catch a ban. I can't speak today. I'm very stoned and also a little tired because I woke up way too early after staying up way too late. Anyway, is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted, and this is the important part, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, "I agree with you." I want you to imagine this quote coming, imagine this in Cenk Uygur's voice. "I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action." Who paternalistically feels that he can't set the timetable for another man's, or that you can't set the timetable for another man's freedom. Who lives by the myth of time. Who constantly advises the Black American to wait until a more convenient season, quote unquote. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Now, obviously, not all of this applies because it's in reference to racial politics in the 1960s, but I want you guys to really think about that quote and look at how it applies to Cenk Uygur, assuming we're taking the most charitable interpretation of him and what he's saying. Assuming that we are assuming that he is completely honest and not part of some TYT-motivated grift to move to the right for money, and he's being completely honest, and he's just succumbed to the gas leak, and he's genuinely just moved into Stupidville lately. The best case scenario, he is essentially just taking the white moderate position on trans rights in regards to non-binary trans rights.
Nope. I'm going to be more pure than them, so I'm going to burn their bridge down. I don't want any allies. Okay, well then don't have any allies.
Oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. All right, Cenk Uygur is here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a classic uncle-nephew face-off, as I have talked about already. For those of you who don't know, Cenk wrote a book. This is a in the face. Cenk wrote a book called Justice is Coming, How Progressives Are Going to Take Over the Country and America is Going to Love It, which is, I mean, I'm a very cynical person. I don't think, I'm a very pessimistic person. I don't think it's happening anytime soon, but maybe you'll make an...
You know what's interesting? It's interesting how Cenk Uygur and the other TYT people like to pretend that what got them canceled, quote unquote, was them not being pure enough for the online left. When that's not it at all. Not being pure enough for the online left generally isn't what will put you under a constant firestorm in the same way that TYT has been. It'll get you into occasional sporadic dramas and cancellations, for sure, but it won't inundate you in the constant vitriol that TYT has gotten, deserved vitriol, I should add, that TYT has gotten, at least not that alone. What really does it, like, let's take, for example, what's his name? David Pakman. He is a ostensibly left-wing political commentator who is very liberal, in no way socialist, not even really social democrat on most issues, just very, very liberal. But he's very upfront about his positions, and he doesn't just flip-flop on them. When his positions change, he explains why, and like it may even happen on camera as he researches a topic, or as he explains a story or a bit of data he didn't know about prior that has changed his opinion on something. There's no just suddenly he's changed up his position on something. David Pakman never presented himself as a socialist and then all of a sudden was defending the Bolivian coup. People overall were expecting a reaction like that, you know, and expect things like that from here on out. Because that's the kind of commentator that he quite honestly presents himself as. The problem is, for a very long time, TYT presented themselves as like the founder of the Resistance Democrats, the founders of the Resistance Democrats, the like headliners of this like progressive Gen Z online media sphere that was pro-trans and totally open to this newfangled Gen Z stuff. But then all of a sudden they're talking about how birthing person is offensive to women, and they're like platforming right-wing people, and they're like leaving the left and saying they're politically homeless. This is a very clear flip-flop in what they had, you know, marketed themselves as to their own audience for a long time. And that's a big part of why there's been such a massive amount of hate for TYT. It's not that they weren't pure enough, it's that for a long time they established themselves as at a certain point, so to say, on the political compass, and then all of a sudden, within a span of a couple months, they moved, like, if I were to ballpark it, like 6 tiles towards the center. So yeah, it was noticeable, and I think a lot of fans felt betrayed.
An argument for that. Yeah, we're going to talk about your book, and we're going to talk about another thing that you literally didn't tell me while you were announcing it, which is that you're running for president. And of course, I'm going to ask you why.
Amazing. Freaking amazing. It's nothing but a scheme to make money. Guys, it's nothing but a scheme to make money. Running for president, if you do it right, can be a pretty significant money-making strategy. Yeah, he couldn't even win a congressional seat. He knows he can't win. However he's doing it, this is a ploy to make money, whether it be in the long term or the short term.
Or even how, but that's it. Those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. Before we get into any of that, though, let's start off with the Democrats actually doing something that is unheard of, unimaginable, which is showing backbone.
All smart progressives are going in the same exact direction, right?
Yeah.
So
I've been on that direction.
Yeah, so my co-host Anna's obsessed with the labor movement. Totally believes that's the answer. Nina Turner, who's another host on our network, just announced today that she set up a new group with Chris Smalls to back the labor movement.
For those that don't know, like, TYT has its fingers in like a lot of the Democratic Party. Like, TYT is way more powerful than you guys know. It has its roots in so much of the Democratic Party you guys don't even know. They're very influential, TYT is. You should be worried about the fact that TYT has taken such a significant turn to the right, because that signifies that the Democratic Party, as a whole, very likely their strategy going forward into the next election is to present themselves as more moderate. That might be their strategy going forward.
And to even get funding for the labor movement whenever they go on strike, etc. And so that's what pushed FDR. That's what's going to push the next generation. Everything is trending in our direction. The only thing is we can't, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And there's 2 icebergs ahead. And so I'm not Pollyannish. I see the icebergs probably better than anybody else does. And I'm really worried about it, okay? One is the progressive movement, honestly, and this is where you and I can begin to disagree, getting too radical and too away from what most Americans want. And the second iceberg.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So look, so saying things like all sports leagues, including professional ones.
In my opinion, no position that says you should let people live their lives as they please as long as they're not hurting anybody is radical. I'm sorry, you can't sell me on that, Cenk. It is not radical to say that a person who wants to identify as whatever they want to identify as long as they're not hurting anybody, should be left alone and respected as you would any other person. I genuinely don't think that's very radical. I think it's actually a very basic, fundamental aspect of human decency, actually. What's your thoughts, chat? Does that sound right to you? Because I genuinely feel as though this is being, like, the idea of... So, recently there's been a lot of discourse with, like, transmedicalism and shit like that around, transmedicalist takes and neopronouns and xenogenders, and it's always comes back around to a friend of mine, Doe, who just seems to be the xenogender neopronoun using person. Not even neopronoun. It's is not neopronouns. They're actually it's is actually a very long-standing existing set of pronouns in the human English language. But like xenogender identifying person within like the online left has just become like the center of all that discourse. Why that doesn't hurt anybody? Like Doe existing doesn't hurt anybody. Why does it have to be the source of discourse? It's very frustrating to me that so much of a community that is supposed to be centered around fighting for people's rights to just exist and do their thing are so hyper-fixated on debating about the validity of people's identities. Why? Why is that? Why do I, like, when I would be on Twitter, why would there be a weekly discourse about whether or not what was it? I forget what the term was. Bi lesbians are valid. Why was there always discourse about whether or not bi lesbians are valid? Who cares? Who cares whether or not you think there's a group of like teenage teenage Tumblr dwellers who've made up a new gender to feel special that are like using it online? How does that affect you in any negative way? Why do you need to go on a rant about how this is somehow destroying the left and harming our ability to do effective advocacy? The right will always have something to use as their ammo against any minority group for their propaganda. There will always be a black person out there who committed a crime that Nazis on 4chan will use to say, see, this is what black people do. There will always be a trans person somewhere who has a mental breakdown in a store for being misgendered that right-wingers will put in their compilations. There will always be a feminist somewhere who dares to make a funny face while having an argument or a debate that will be screenshotted and used as a meme for over a decade to strawman the left. It doesn't matter how much you try to acquiesce to the right's insane dedication to smear the left and the people that they despise. It doesn't matter how much you try to acquiesce. They're evil, and they don't care.
Has to allow trans women, they don't have a choice, etc. That polls at like 2%. You say, hey, it's a moral issue. It's really important.
Do you think
sports leagues are like the most important thing in the whole wide world?
Do you think it's actually a significant issue? Do you think that is a significant issue or a driver of the conversation, or cynically weaponized by Republicans with like some liberals taking the bait and then having a conversation about it instead of being like, fuck off, nobody cares about this, stop talking about this immediately?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what the right wing does. They weaponize every single issue. What I'm trying to get progressives to do is stop falling in the trap. So the minute they say it, our side comes out and goes, no, this is the most important issue. And anyone who disagrees is a Nazi. You just called 98% of the country Nazis.
Okay.
What are you doing? You're alienating voters like crazy.
Okay. Do you think that most people who advocate for the validity of like non-binary people and xenogender and neopronoun identifying people, do you think the majority of those people call anyone who disagrees or doesn't understand that like a Nazi? Just straight up Nazi. I think there's probably a few. It's Twitter. It's the online left. There's definitely a few. But to try to characterize that as everybody who feels offended, hurt, and betrayed by the Young Turks' recent shift is very dishonest. Very dishonest. Very cope.
Do you think that organizers on the ground, both trans and cis, that are or members of labor unions are even using this as a talking point in any meaningful capacity, or is it simply reactionary Republicans bringing this up because they tried and unsuccessfully failed to push the anti-trans button with bathroom
Except
bills?
for the fact that they pass all those bills, which I despise. I hate those
Hold on.
bills.
Let me just
So there is a difference between Republican legislators currently holding seats in office who are able to pass bills because they have unanimous power within their local jurisdiction, and there being an election season and those politicians running millions, tens of millions of dollars worth of ads on nothing but anti-trans shit, and then it not motivating any of their voters to come out and vote for them, and causing a massive drop in votes for Republicans in 2022 midterms, which was like massively portended for like months. Like they were saying, oh yeah, so it's already very clear this like anti-trans thing is not working for the Republicans in the pre-election polling. And then the election came about and all of the polling showed the exact prediction came true. Anti-trans rhetoric just does not win these people elections. If they're already in power, they'll pass the anti-trans policy because they just want trans people dead. It's more of a actual ideological thing that they are motivated by than something they're using to get elected. But when they do try to use it to get themselves elected, it doesn't work. It's the elections and the midterms that we're talking about here. If they're already in power, there's nothing you can really do besides try to impeach them, maybe. But we're talking about re-elections when we decide who's going to take their place. And the fact that them hyper-focusing on transphobia and us fighting back against it is hurting them and reducing their chances of getting elected and reelected.
let me just clarify something here. In the lead up to the 2016 election, you had the North Carolina bathroom bill that was anti-trans, right? You have to have the gender assigned at birth be...
Yeah, I've heard a lot of normies say that the anti-trans ads that play in a lot of Republican states are really annoying and like repetitive and just cringe.
the bathroom that you go to.
That totally failed.
Okay,
That's right.
that failed. That was so objectively a failure that Donald Trump came out and said, I don't give a fuck where Caitlyn Jenner shits as long as she's shitting in Trump Tower, right? Something along those lines.
But
I'm
then
paraphrasing.
he tried to ban them from the military.
Hold on. Let me finish.
That was also unpopular. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me finish. Okay? Yeah, he tried to ban trans people from the military. That was also unpopular. So,
The truth is, any like any overt attempt to blatantly infringe on the rights of LGBT people, no matter how like perceived like niche of a group it is going to be met with massive backlash from the mainstream. The Republicans hold power through a tyranny of the minority, through the Electoral College and through the massive disproportionate wealth that Republicans hold. This has been the case. So something you guys need, I'm really stun locking here, but it's relevant, I promise. Something you guys need to recognize is that prior to Bush, the Republican Party's main voter base were affluent, wealthy, educated city dwellers. That was the majority of the Republican Party's voter base. Not only that, but a pretty substantial portion of what like young people, 18 and like to 25, voted Republican prior to the Bush, especially the further back you go, prior to the Bush presidency. It was really once Bush became president, 9/11 happened, and all the shit that followed occurred, that we started to see such a drastic, sharp increase in the progressive values in younger successive generations. And each year that a new swath of people hit voting age, the polls showed that the younger voting demographic was getting to be more and more leaning towards the Democrats. And with that in mind, it's just been on that like path for a while now. Like that's just the way we're headed. That is not going to stop. That has been the consistent route that our country has been taking on the graph. When you look at these graphs for a long time, it's not slowing down. The increase in progressive values among younger and younger voters is only getting sharper and more of a steep increase. And that's just not stopping. The Republicans are desperately spending massive amounts of money to try to stop that trend, but it's not working. It is a nearly unstoppable force going up against an absolutely, it is an unstoppable force, an absolutely unstoppable force going up against a not quite unstoppable wall.
What did Republican interest groups do? The family, moral family.
I don't know. I butchered that phrasing, but I think you guys understand what I mean. There's no stopping the progressiveness of Gen Z and future generations, no matter how much the Republicans spend money and try to cheat the system.
Christianity fundamentalist groups. What did? They went back to the drawing board and they looked for a reasonable sidestep that would still be anti-trans, that would open the door to anti-trans conversations that they could push for that was more popular. What did they find? They found that Americans love the concept that is bullshit, meritocracy. What is the most meritocratic process in the entire country, maybe in the world? Sports. Americans love sports, and Americans believe that meritocracy is real, and it's especially real in sports. So they changed the narrative away from trans people can't pee and poo in the fucking bathrooms to trans people want to destroy sports. It was simply just another way to attack trans people, which is...
I straight up bite the bullet on the sports thing, I guess you could say, and here's my take. I say I don't give a shit whether or not we segregate sports by gender. I genuinely think that we shouldn't. I don't think we should segregate it by gender. If that's like the trade-off, if it's like the enfranchisement of an entire minority group, or like the sports ball gets to be fair, then I take the enfranchisement of an entire minority group. Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah, I don't care enough about the, like, I literally, like, swam in high school and got 2 varsity letters. Like, I certainly have done my fair share of putting in the hours and effort and dedication to a sport. I could have gotten a scholarship off of my swimming. Like, my mom insisted that I try to get a scholarship off my swimming and go to college. And I didn't want to go to college, so I didn't. But, like, even with all that said, I genuinely don't give a shit about the fairness of sports. I don't. If the trade-off is, like, for sports to remain fair and for the Olympics to remain fair, quote-unquote, then trans people have to be disenfranchised, I don't, then sports don't get to be fair. Then I think we should just vie for sports. Yeah, who cares? Not to mention, let's be completely honest here. At the end of the day, all of these stringent guidelines that Republicans have like tried to force onto these sports organizations have actually had more negative effects on cis women than it has trans women and trans men, because they've like set these arbitrary testosterone limits, and sometimes, notably, this has a racial bias, black women will surpass those limits and be deemed as having too much testosterone to compete. It has happened numerous times now, and they were cis women. So these standards don't just hurt trans people, they hurt cis people too. And it's all just this desperate, paranoid, like, desperate desire to keep a group of people that is an infinitesimally small fraction of the population of people involved in sports from having a supposedly unfair advantage. When, let's be honest, if you're actually going to try to like use this as some way of cheating, then you better already be like one of the best athletes in the world, because like it's not that easy. Yeah, they've done it with chess too. Like, do you really think that chess needs to be segregated by gender? Are men like more is there a scientific study that shows that men are literally biologically more capable at chess than women? What about curling? What about professional javelin throwing? Like, I get it for sports that are contact sports, I guess. Maybe. But what about sports that don't involve physical contact and the chance of getting, like, battered around by each other? Like, it really makes no sense other than trying to just outright say to the world, you think that women are inferior to men, and they just wouldn't be able to get anywhere in sports if they were, like, in the same league. Why couldn't there just be, like, a list of the best? Why couldn't you just have a championship for leagues of the best people in certain, like, what's it called? God, they do this in, surfing too, of course. That's an example of a stupid one. They do this in esports, where, like, there are different leagues of skill. Like, you've got, like, these are people who've just gotten into it, and they're like promising, but they're not like at the tier of the people who sell out entire stadiums to watch them. Here are the people who are like really popular. They've got big Twitch presences and they show up at a lot of events, but they haven't won any huge things. And here's the guys who are the top of the top. They bring home trophies. They win millions of dollars. They've got coaches in a fucking stronghold somewhere. Like, they do that in esports. Why can't we do that with like normal sports? I'm pretty sure that would allow for plenty of cis women to compete with plenty of cis men, and trans women and cis and trans men vice versa, and likewise in all these leagues. Like, I don't know. It just seems like people are so married to this idea of there being gender segregation in sports when you really think about it long enough, it's just kind of stupid.
It's precisely why I think a lot of people correctly looked at that and went, why the fuck are we talking about this? This is
like weight class in wrestling, but with more categories. Exactly, Kendrick Kiggins. I feel like people who've done wrestling will understand what I'm talking about more here, because, like, what matters more than gender or sex when it comes to a fight in wrestling is body weight and skill. Like, body weight and knowing how to use your body weight. Like, does anybody here in chat, have they ever done wrestling, jiu-jitsu, MMA, anything like that, and had, like, a slightly more experienced girl grapple with a slightly less experienced dude, and she just whoops his ass every time? They're in a similar weight class, and that's why they got teamed up. And it's just because at that level, when you consider those factors, yeah, they're on pretty fair footing, except for the skill area, and that's why she won.
Ultimately marginal. You just want to fucking eliminate trans people from public spaces. And I have never given an ounce of legitimacy to that.
I say this because I did jiu-jitsu when I was younger, and there were plenty of girls that just beat the asses of the less experienced dudes. Some were even lighter than said dudes because they knew how to throw around their opponent's weight and didn't need to have their own weight to throw around. And it was particularly, like, clear when the coaches would roll. You see, obviously they weren't doing, like, cross-gender matches or anything like that, but if it was, like, after practice, and it was just, like, the gym's gonna close in an hour, and it's, like, time for a little bit of cooldown, the coaches would have a cooldown grapple on the mat, and everybody would stand back and watch the coaches. And our coach was a cis woman, and she was, at the time, like, I think maybe a brown belt with a stripe, now solidly black belt for many years, and now runs her own Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym in Tampa, Florida. Maybe it's moved, but last I heard it was in Tampa. So yeah, she's very much moved up in the world by this point. But she would kick the dudes' asses who were just one belt level or a few stripes lower than her that ran the gym with her as, like, teachers. She would kick their asses, and they were not letting her win. Trust me, you could tell they were not letting her win, but she won. And she overwhelmed them with speed and with skill and just knew what she was doing. She was also pretty stocky, so she was, like, just pretty built for like, fighting, you know? She was just good at it. And she kicked their asses. I've seen it happen. Like, you can't bullshit me and say it's not possible.
Argument, despite what public polling says, because
when people say that this is, like, women can't, like, have a fair shake against men in sports, it's like a flat earther telling me the earth is round. Or the earth is round. The earth is flat. When I've seen footage of it from space, I've seen videos of GoPros sent up on balloons where it doesn't cut at all. You watch as it gets like lifted off the ground and floats and floats and floats and floats and floats, goes up through the clouds, floats. The sky starts to turn black, and then eventually you're in space. You can see the curvature of the Earth, and the balloon pops from the lack of pressure because it just like pulls the helium all out of it and just pops the balloon because you're in the vacuum of space at that point, and then it just falls all the way to the ground. Like, that's not fake. These videos are from, like, the 90s, too, when you couldn't fake that convincingly. I don't know. Like, I feel like I stunlocked a bit there, but it feels like a flat earther telling me the earth is flat when I know it's round, when someone says that women can't have a fair shake in sports against men. It really is just people acquiescing to conservative, hysteria.
Reality is, no one gives a fuck about it. Let me tell you something that's more important.
Good Lord, it's been 45 minutes and we've watched 6 minutes of this debate. Has there ever been a more stark example of the difference between me and Hasan's style of reaction? This video is now 45 minutes and 30 seconds long. We have watched 6 minutes of the debate. Well, there you go. Also, I have to point this out. Either Hasan's camera is, like, massively warped, or Hasan's house is on, like, an incline. Does his house exist on a hill or something? Because this is not level. None of this is level. This room is, like, slanted to the right. I'm not the only one seeing this, right? His camera is tilted? Okay. Because that does not look like a level room by any means. How are things not rolling and falling? That's fallen, the Bernie sign that you guys can't see behind my camera.
Important in the public polling, however. Because you brought up...
So far, I don't even see where we disagree.
Okay, so you brought up state legislatures, Republicans, like, passing incredibly, horrifyingly...
Cenk's gotten so right-wing, he's weighing reality down to the right just by being in the room and on camera.
Psychotic anti-trans bills.
Yeah.
Okay? And they're passing this. Yet there is no viable single-issue voter out there that is, like, desiring these anti-trans bills. Although, if you ask, Americans directly about, like, what do you think about a 14-year-old trans girl, like, participating in a swim meet, they might say 56% might say, fuck that, that's wrong, we shouldn't do that. But the reality is there isn't any real momentum on the ground for anti-trans shit, okay? Voters...
The reality is that the trans sports thing is a very weak point when it comes to the normie general consensus of opinion for the left. That's why it's one of the strongest points for the right to focus on. The problem is, for the right at least, it doesn't motivate any electoral action. It just doesn't. Hasan is right here. I think he's arguing it fairly competently, though I think I could argue it better. No matter how much the polling shows that people don't necessarily agree with the whole trans people in sports thing, that opinion just does not motivate them to go out to the polls and vote with that opinion. It just doesn't. The data shows this very clearly, and you have no evidence to show that the general population is moving into a direction where that is going to influence their vote strongly.
Do not give a fuck about trans people overall. The overwhelming majority of voters actually have apathy for trans people. They just don't care about it because they think that there's no trans people in their lives whatsoever.
That's what apathy
Republicans,
means.
however, have kept on pushing the anti-trans button over and over again and made it their major fucking talking point.
That's right.
That has yielded horrifyingly bad results for them. And instead of, like, fucking assassinating Christopher Rufo, for example, who's one of the leading guys here.
It has had very bad results to the Republicans, objectively. Just because the online culture war has been, like, very anti-trans lately because of all the, like, memes and shit, does not mean that right now, in the real world, the politics are going well for the right. Ron DeSantis is just currently the governor and passing the bills that he can in Florida that are anti-trans. That's not winning him the next election. In fact, it's causing more and more growing resistance against him than ever in Florida. Like, just because their supporters like it does not mean the general population like these policies. And the previous midterm showed that what I'm saying is right. Cenk has absolutely nothing to go on here. He's just grasping at straws to try to say, yeah, but in some, imaginary way, this is actually really helping the Republicans. No, it's not. Disney has Florida by the balls. Any person who's like grown up in Florida and knows Florida's history knows how by the balls Disney has Florida. Disney owns the land that Disneyland and or Disney World and a lot of the land around it is built on in a way that like you can't own land as a company or a normal person now. Like Disney owns the land like the Vatican owns the Vatican inside of Rome. Like the Disney World land belongs to Disney, not to Florida. It's like a special long ago signed bill that Disney managed to get signed, or not bill, but contract that Disney managed to get signed and lasts forever and cannot be destroyed. And among many other things, Disney basically helped to build Florida and has its roots everywhere. Ron DeSantis' war against Disney is only going to hurt him, and it's going to hurt him bad. I promise you.
Here, the Manhattan Institute that was like doing the CRT stuff, doing the anti-trans stuff. Instead of going, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You ruined our midterm chances when Biden had a historically bad economy, when a red tsunami was supposed to happen. That was a major failure on their part, one that actually has led to Kevin McCarthy's ouster as the speaker right now, a domino effect of like the Republican Party imploding in and of itself, partially because the only thing that they have been looking for, the only thing that they have, the only tangible policy position is just increasing the dial of transphobia, but there's not enough people on the ground who are demanding it. And those who are demanding it are increasingly more psychopathic, which is pushing away normal fucking Republican voters who are just like, I just want tax cuts, man. Like, I'm racist, sure, but like, the fuck's going on? Like, I don't give a shit about this. Like,
No. Most Republican voters that are like wedge issue voters don't wedge issue vote on tax cuts. I think guns is actually the primary thing, funnily enough. Like, a lot of wedge issue voters, it's guns. The Democrats have solidly stated to all law-abiding legal gun owners that they are the political enemy of the Democratic Party, and that the Democratic Party will not stop until guns are effectively eliminated for legal ownership. And owning a gun is a criminal action, and you can simply cut down on gun violence and gun crime by making its ownership a crime itself. And so you see a gun, locked up, sent to prison, which is the same logic as like, let's make drugs illegal and make anybody who has drugs, even if they're a kid, a felon. And let's make it a felony to manufacture, to use, to consume, to have on you, no matter what quantity. It's literally drug war logic, but yeah. Like, guns are the Democrats' drug war. And I have a feeling that, in hindsight, it'll be looked back on just as hatefully. At least I hope so. By the way, I think there's a difference between, like, gun safety legislation that's centered around reducing the likelihood of someone who might use a gun for bad things to go through legal processes to obtain a firearm. I think policies that try to prevent that are fine. My problem are policies that try to prevent legal law-abiding gun owners from owning certain guns at all. Restrictions on what guns can be owned, I'm not a big fan of, outside of certain scenarios. Although I do think you should, if you can go through rigorous training and pay the money and get the permits, I think you should be able to own an RPG. So you can blow up, like, old junker cars on your, like, 500-acre property in the middle of the desert, if that's what you want to do. Like, yeah, no, I think that's fine. Yeah, no, that's my take. I'm done with this video, by the way. I'm done with this debate. It's pretty uninteresting to me, overall. Hasan is, like, very middlingly defending his, like, these positions. It's enough to at least get his chat to spam trans rights or human rights, which I appreciate, even though they're all a bunch of tankies who like Russia, which these guys, you guys know it's a crime. It is literally a crime punishable by prison to expose a child to any media that has a gay person in it in Russia, right? When people like Hasan and his fan base like simp for Russia, they're simping for a country where you will go to jail if you show a child the scene from the Adventure Time series finale where Marceline and Princess Bubblegum kiss on your iPhone in the street. The cops will tackle you, put you in a chokehold, throw you in a car, and you will rot in a Russian prison cell. That is the country these people simp for. I just need you guys to remember that. Just keep that in your mind whenever you see Hasan fans spamming trans rights or human rights. Just a little important detail. Oh, that goes without saying, Sophie, of course. Oh, and to clarify on my position on gun violence, it's really just comes to, or like gun, like self-defense, like whether or not people should own guns and use them for self-defense. It really comes down to, do you trust the police with your life? Ask yourself, do you trust cops with your life? I asked myself that question, and the honest answer was no. And so I have a gun for self and home defense. And for range shooting, because marksmanship is fun. Mostly for marksmanship and range shooting, because, you know, it's fun. It's very, very fun. Yeah, I personally, I don't trust the cops enough. Speaking of which, that's a pretty good segue into the next segment, but first I've got to read donos. Did you guys like that segment, by the way? I feel like it came out pretty good. Zan, you convinced me to let my dad teach me how to shoot soon? Based. Here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? And simply you repeating this to your dad of saying what you want to do is going to impress him if he knows guns. Simply say, I want you to take me, unless he has lots of guns with lots of variety for you to shoot. I'm assuming you don't, just so that this advice can account for potential complications of not having these things. Tell your dad you want to go to a local range that offers rentals. There's a lot of ranges that offer fairly cheap rentals for guns that they will allow you to use at their range, and you buy the bullets. You have to buy their bullets usually if you're going to shoot their rental guns. And some of them make you buy their bullets just to shoot at their range, which are the really bad ranges. So do some research on the best range. And say you want to start by shooting a .22 rifle. That is the easiest and most, friendly thing to start out with, is a .22 rifle. It's like a Ruger 1022 or just some kind of Plinkster, something like that. Just something light if you've never shot anything before and you're scared and you're nervous. Start with that. Say you want to start with a .22 rifle. And then from there, say you want to shoot a 9mm handgun. He'll teach you how to properly shoot it and to shoot it safely. If you're really scared, just load one round into it. If you've got a mag loaded into it with most handguns, you can just pull the slide back, lock it back, stick a round into the chamber, just drop it in and make sure it's not in there sideways or fucked up or anything like that. And then you just, at least on my Glock, you have to push up on the slide release while pulling the slide back, and then you just let it go and it goes forward. And you've got one round chambered and no rounds in the magazine, so it's only going to fire one shot. So if you fire that one shot and it's too much and it flies out of your hand, or you freak out, or anything, you point the gun at somebody because you freaked out, or you were excited afterwards because you fired a good shot and you got a bullseye, and you get excited and turn around and point the gun at your dad or something, because people do that when they shoot a gun for the first time. There won't be a round in the gun after you've shot your first shot, so you won't. There's a lot of reasons why you should do that as your first round, your first 9mm shot. And then from there, I would honestly recommend, once you get comfortable with that, trying out a 5.56 rifle. If you can shoot an AR-15, AR-15s, as scary as they may seem, are a delight to shoot. If you see someone shooting an AR-15, it looks really scary. It causes fluctuations in the air in the room whenever a round goes off. And it's not very pleasant to be next to when someone's shooting an AR-15, but when you're shooting the AR-15, it is one of the most pleasant rifles you'll ever shoot with such a relatively high caliber. and velocity. It's actually like a laser beam. Like shooting a AR-15 with a zeroed optic, like a laser optic, or not a laser optic, a dot optic. It's like a laser beam. The range that I go to with rental guns has custom AR-15s that were grandfathered in before the Washington ban, and you can rent them and shoot them. And, you know, you gotta fuck around with their sights a little bit to zero them in, but once they're zeroed in, they are literal fucking laser beams, and you'll just go bang, 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 and just create a hole where the bullseye once was. You'll get bored and have to, like, shoot little pieces of the bullseye off because you're gonna, like, you're just gonna be so accurate. It's really, really fun. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend you start with for your first day at the range. And after you've done that, you're gonna get hooked. You're gonna be hooked on shooting, and you're gonna want to go shooting again the next day. Zan's legit the first online figure to get me interested in guns, and it's only because he doesn't talk about it like some wannabe mercenary and just like a normal hobby. Oh my god, the amount of people on the YouTube sphere where I watch like gun videos that try to be cool about it are really cringe. You're not cool shooting at paper or like onions or steel. If you're shooting at someone who's shooting back at you, then okay, that's pretty cool. But if you're not, then you're not being cool. You're LARPing. You're tryharding. You're LARPing, and you're trying to look cool, and you look like a dweeb. And like they put the like edited rock music over their videos, and it's just so cringy. I don't like it. Yeah, Zan, thank you for not being some weird LARPy motherfucker pretending to prep for a race war. Yeah, like, the closest thing to prepping for a race war that I'm doing is being ready for if the Nazis decide to do their Day of the Rope shit and, like, ride their trucks with their full auto rifles into, like, Seattle and start, like, wiping out all the Democrats or whatever, like they fantasize about. Anyway, Reaganator, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the $5. Said, hey Zan, I found myself wanting to get into guns, and I was wondering if you had any recommendations for YouTube channels that aren't super right-wing. Hitcock45 is a very good channel for if you're curious about learning, like, about every gun. Like, you can literally just turn on a playlist of every Hitcock45 video, and he has just reviewed every gun pretty much, and he will explain to you the, like, specs and then all of the little, like, janky little things you should know about every gun. He'll shoot it, show you how accurate it is. He's a very solid shooter, so you can use his skill with it as a solid benchmark for how good the gun is in terms of its accuracy, precision, reliability, how much it jams. He's not going to, like, limp wrist the gun, so you know that if it jams, it's because it's the gun's fault and not his. You know he's not, like, badly loading magazines. You know he's not falsely or badly inspecting his ammo, so if the gun's jamming, it's because it's the gun, and you can pretty solidly, like, know that his advice is good. And he's not LARPy either. He's just an old guy in the woods, bunch of targets set up in the distance, and a table, and he's just a very charming old dude who doesn't play any rock music for his intro. It's just a fade in from black, and he's like, hey there everybody, Hitcock45 here. I'm gonna review the Glock 19 Gen 5. And yeah, you know, it's just, you know, it's a good channel. And there's also apparently a Tactical GF who I've never watched. I've been meaning to watch Tactical GF. Chat's been pretty consistently talking up that channel. Yeah. Thank you, Reaganator. Oh, it was a 3-monther too. Thank you so much. So, thank you so much for the additional $7. I'm so stoned, I had to do math with my fingers there, guys. That is how high I am right now. But I like getting high for stream. It's fun. I'm more of a silly guy whenever I'm stoned. That one furry, thank you for the $5 donation. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. Said, Zan, do the thug shaker. Do it to own the right, Zan. I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely don't know how to do the thug shaker. But thank you. I appreciate the $5. That puts us at $52 on the dono goal. Thank you so much for your kind generosity. Remember, you don't have to donate or give me money to support me. You guys can just hit the like button. That thumbs up button really does go a long way, and basically forces YouTube to send support to my channel. And you know, tell more of my subs and more randos that I'm live and that I upload videos, and you know, maybe they sub, maybe they watch. It really does help me. Anyway, let's get on to the next segment, because goddamn did that one take too long.
In a 10-10.
There we go. Okay. Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. Listen, saying ACAB or cops suck in this community is really not a controversial take, and I don't feel like I'm gonna have to make any arguments you know, for that opinion here to you guys, but I do think it's important from time to time to go over instances in which police officers have abused their power, just to get an idea of how much power cops have that goes completely outside of the bounds of the spirit of the law. And that's just completely outside of the discussion about morality itself. So we're going to be watching this video. It came up in my recommended recently, so I have seen a fair bit of what we're going to look at, but a good amount of it is completely, you know, I haven't seen it. It's a blind watch through. It was a video that came up in my recommended. It caught my eye. The clickbait worked, and I ended up watching it. And the first part of the video immediately made me stop, and I thought, I need to cover this on stream. This needs to be a segment. I need to make this a segment. The video is called When Cops Have to Arrest Their Family. Interesting, huh? Bet that piqued you guys' interest. This is body cam footage that is narrated by someone who gives extra details from the, like, the aftermath of the case and everything, to give context to what's going on if you can't really tell from the video and the audio. And, this particular first story of Officer Kovac should genuinely blow your mind. I was genuinely mind blown by this one, despite my very low opinion of police as it stands.
Cops have to deal with all sorts of violent and dangerous criminals every day. But what happens when it's their very own family they have to arrest?
Yeti, why are you pushing me?
Caitlin, knock it off!
This is Officer Kovac, a policeman who didn't approve of his daughter's relationship with 18-year-old Makai Coleman.
I want to remind you all, she is also 18, and it is very explicit that he didn't like that her boyfriend is black. That was his problem, was that his adult daughter was dating a black man. So, have that knowledge in your noggin as we watch the rest of this video.
After tracing his daughter's laptop to the residence, he spotted Makai.
After tracing his adult daughter's laptop to her boyfriend's house, where she was, let's let it continue.
With 18-year-old Makai Coleman. After tracing his daughter's laptop to the residence, he spotted Makai's car driving by and decided to pull it over.
You can get out.
Reason.
You're going to jail. Get out. Have a seat in my car. We'll make shit up as we go.
It's immediately
He walks up to the car after pulling him over for no reason, says get out immediately, and tells him to get into the cop car. No saying you're under arrest, says you're going to go to jail, even though he's not committed any crime or been accused of committing any crime. And all of this is being caught on video.
clear that this isn't a normal police interaction. That last phrase, "we'll make it up as we go," is obviously unprofessional and quite scary too. Officer Kovac has a personal and emotional connection to this case, and has even made an unlawful—
This is the kind of dad that I mentioned in a previous stream that takes his daughter to purity balls and insists that his daughter's virginity is his property to give away to her future husband that he approves of and hands her off to at her wedding, and she gets to lose her virginity on her honeymoon after her wedding night. That is the type of dad that I'm talking about here, and makes up a large majority of conservative fathers in this country.
Full traffic stop because of it. Even if he did have a valid reason to pull Makai.
Cave Kayla, I almost said based because, like, that would be in defiance of the idea of a purity ball, but then I started to think for a second and realized that might not be too based. Yeah. So either based or sorry, depending on the circumstances.
Over, he should have radioed for another officer to handle the stop, but instead, he's taking things into his own hands.
Any guns, knives, weed on you? What's that?
Obviously.
Go ahead, get smart before I can do something to you even more.
The passenger side door opening means someone is still in the vehicle, and it turns out to be another of his daughter's friends, but she's still nowhere to be seen.
I tell you get out of the car? Did I tell you get out of the car?
Around at those 12. I was advising a white female on a blue sheet, find them with a gun.
Does your dad know my daughter's in your house?
You know what the scary thing as well is? Once a cop who's doing this calls in backup, he's got an entire team. That was not a joke, Cave Kayla. That was not a joke at all. Why would you think that I'd be joking about that? There's unironically a massive amount of sexual exploitation that happens in those spaces, and there have been many people who started a sentence, like a story, by saying I lost my virginity at blank, and then followed up with, yeah, it wasn't exactly consensual, so I was watching my bases because I didn't want to say base to that, and then for you to follow it up with the most horrific shit I've ever heard. So, yeah.
Conveniently, Kovac managed to pull them over right next to the friend's house, so he decided to have a chat with the mother after remembering his daughter's laptop also showed her inside of this house.
Why is her computer there?
Why would your daughter be in my house?
I don't know. So if I check and you're lying to me, you're going to jail.
You could check, and I'm not lying to you.
She's getting a ticket because she wasn't wearing her seatbelt, so that's going to cost you $20.
Then you get a warrant.
That's fine. I will.
The woman politely invites Kovac to search her home despite having no legal obligation to. He tells her that because her daughter wasn't wearing a seatbelt, he
insists on searching her friend's mom's house because his daughter might be in there, and he says if you're lying and she's in there, you're going to jail. His adult daughter, who has not committed any crime or anything, he's just an abusive father who doesn't like that his daughter's an adult now, and even as a cop, he doesn't have the authority to control her. So now he is illegally using his status as a police officer to harass her. And as I was saying before, if he calls backup, an entire team of cops come who immediately will assume he is in the right and the people he's arresting are in the wrong. Any type of explanation of the situation they try to do will incriminate them. They'll get taken to investigators that don't know the situation, that assume that everything the cop that has arrested them is saying is true. No matter what justice comes about in the end, there is going to be untold amounts of suffering that the people that this cop is victimizing are going to go through, because it takes a while for the police to realize in situations like this that one of their own is actually breaking the law, and the person who's a suspect is completely innocent and is a victim of police brutality.
going to write them a ticket for $200, causing the woman to revoke her consent to search. It's becoming clear just how much he's willing to abuse his power to solve his own personal issues, so the woman decides to speak up.
Hey, you're making this
You're being
personal.
disorderly.
How am I being disorderly?
She wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
I was wearing my seatbelt. You're making this personal. You want to take my daughter because you think your daughter is in my
No,
house.
she wasn't
So
wearing a
whatever you
seatbelt.
call it, I'm going to call 911.
Realizing exactly what's going on, the girl's mother reminds Officer Kovac that what he's doing is both unprofessional and illegal. But in a scramble to prevent the woman from calling his colleagues to the scene, he decides to let her daughter go without a ticket before discovering something nobody could predict.
I didn't even see you. Get out of the car. Get in my car. Go ahead, you guys are good. Ma'am, they could go with you.
The officer's daughter, Caitlin, had been hiding inside Mackay's car the entire time, obviously terrified of what her father might do to her and her friends. It turns out her fear wasn't unfounded, as he proceeds to essentially kidnap his own daughter by forcing her into his vehicle.
Get my car. Goodbye.
You can't take me. I am 18. You have to give me a reason. By law, why are you pushing me? Are you kidding?
Literally an abusive father whose daughter turned 18 and finally had legal ability to get away from her dad, but her dad's a cop and used his cop abilities to track her down through stalking, kidnap her, and that is what's happening now, all caught on his body cam footage. Remember the 40% statistic of 40% of cops, I believe it was a Florida study, admitting to some form of domestic violence, yes. So keep that in mind.
Caitlin! Knock it off!
You don't want me! I know! Why you can't do this?
Yeah, she did nothing.
I'm an adult!
Get in the car. She's going to the hospital. She said she was going to kill herself Friday.
No, I didn't! I did not!
That's an abusive parent tactic. As someone who had issues with abusive parents growing up, that's an abusive parent tactic, is the trying to gain authority over your child by threatening to tell police that you're suicidal. Abusive parents love doing that. They love threatening legal action against their own children. I've had that happen to me, where, like, I wanted to get out of the house and stay with other family, and I was met with a response of, I'll call the police and say you're suicidal. People in chat are saying same. It's not uncommon. When abusive parents realize that none of their tactics are working and they're going to lose their grip, they always resort to threats of, I'll call the cops. Sometimes they threaten, I'll call the cops and say, you hit me. That's not uncommon. I know we don't really like her here, but Lonnie's mom would do that as an example of someone I know that like has gone through that or knew that has gone through that. It's just not uncommon for parents that are abusive to their children as their children get to like the age where they can actually like have some level of agency physically for themselves to try and take the legal route to cement their control of their children. It's really common. And this is beyond that even. This is like so beyond that. But he's using the I'll tell the police you're suicidal as the I don't want to get you arrested, but I want to get you locked up for 3 days or whatever and under like a psychiatric hold. And like doing that can ruin someone's life, by the way. Like if they get institutionalized, that can like ruin their life. So, yeah.
Caitlin is essentially being kidnapped here. She's broken no laws and is legally an adult, meaning she can stay or go with anyone she wants. But despite that, he tells her that she has to come with him to the hospital as she needs a psychological evaluation. There's no need to point out just how badly Officer Kovac handled the entire situation. Internal Affairs did that for us. It was quickly concluded that Kovac acted illegally and irresponsibly. During the entire interaction, Kovac was listed as an available unit and was called to a domestic abuse case, but he never responded.
God, that'll probably get him in more trouble than any of the footage.
Sir John Kovac was later fired from the police department for his unprofessional behavior. But it's not only police officers.
That was the consequences. He got fired. He kidnapped, he stalked, harassed the friends of and the family of the friends of his daughter, kidnapped her, and the only consequences was he was fired. That's really the core of it all, right? You can say like there will always be some bad eggs within the police force. But when it comes down to it, if the most common response to the police abusing their power in such a horrific way is that they just get fired, then it's a problem. That there can be these bad apples and that they can abuse this power to do these things. So yeah, this is just another great example of why the left is as anti-cop as it tends to be. Because the examples of this are countless. And some are far worse. I know the subject matter wasn't very lighthearted by any means, but what did you guys think of that segment? I feel like it came out really good. No, he did not go to jail, Baz from the background. Thank you. Little Morphine Annie, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the $5. As I feel so naked without my blue name, well, welcome back to the Blue Name Club. Your whiteness has been shed away. Sophie, thank you for the little tier... Sorry. I had to burp. Sophie, thank you for the tier 1 gift sub to Little Morphine Annie. Said, for anyone wanting a progressive gun channel, check out this channel. Let's check it out. Thank you for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. Let me update the dono goal. Nice. What's it? $62 for the day. Hey Holly, what's up? Good to see you in chat. This is pretty cool. So I guess this is not a chud channel. Cool. I'll definitely check this one out. What about Tactical GF? Training notes. How to get good. How do you get good at shooting? I'm pretty good at shooting, I think. I'm okay at shooting, I think. I would say I'm pretty alright at shooting. I can hit onions and make them explode with a 9mm Glock from, like, 20 feet away. With, like, a perfect accuracy rating of maybe 40%. Like, I've got 10-round mags, and I hit, like, 4 shots out of the 10 from the mag at little onions sitting on the ground 20 feet away. And, like, the shots that miss move the onions, because they hit the ground, like, right there, and, like, move the onions a little bit. They're that close to being a hit. So, like, the onions are tiny little targets. The goal is to try to be able to hit the tiniest thing you can. God, the Glock 19 is such a good fucking gun. It's so accurate. It's only like 8 yards. Well, when you consider that most like self-defense shooting scenarios happen at like 4 yards, then being able to hit an onion and make it explode accurately like from that distance is pretty good. Especially because shooting at the ground is hard. I don't know if you guys like have shot before, but like if you've shot at like roughly chest level or eye level, it's way easier to hit a target that's like a flat vertical. Like if it was a person running at you, hitting like a point on their chest is way easier than hitting a little like target ball that's on the ground, because you have to like account for a weird angle. It's weird. If you've shot before, you know. I don't have to explain it to people who've shot guns. Anyway, let's see this.
Greetings, loves. It is I, Tactical Girlfriend. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's doing well. Recently, I attended InRange's High Desert Brutality 2-gun competition. That was a very difficult competition that involved a lot of good firearm handling skills, as well as just general physical challenges for my body. A lot of folks had some really good questions about training, so I just kind of wanted to do an overview about how I approach training, how I set goals, how I evaluate, how I approach...
God, I need to find a place where I can shoot skeet in Washington, and I need to get a shotgun. I want to get like a really good shotgun for shooting clays. I think it'd be so fucking nice to be able to make that like a like monthly thing I go out to do, because I've done it a few times before and it's just so fucking fun. It's like you will find normal range shooting a bore after you've shot skeet.
firearm handling, as well as just keeping good fitness. So in this video, I'm going to review what I do. This is not necessarily a template for you to follow, but it might be some good inspiration and just some general thought and theory around training for you to try to digest. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now first, let's talk about...
What if they made a weight set, like a weight machine for like exercising, that was a gun? Like, hear me out. Like, you've got like a weight adjuster set up on the trigger. It's not a real gun. It's just like approximating a gun. And you've got a weight set up on the trigger, a weight set up on the slide, and a weight set up that can, like, at a regular interval, simulate recoil. And the idea would be that you could increase or decrease the weight of different aspects of the gun and, like, work out your trigger finger with, like, some high weight on, like, the trigger pull that you could adjust. You could adjust the weight for the slide and increase your muscles involved in pulling back and letting go of the slide. So you could just kind of improve your skill at that. And then you could do the same with the recoil control, where you would basically just increase the weight that's being applied whenever the fake recoil happens, and you would just practice trying to control fake recoil. That would be a machine that would be so valuable to gun owners that don't have, like, a range at their disposal to be able to practice. Xander Hall autism? This is not autism. This is ADHD. Get it right, ableist motherfucker. Xana's having a high idea? Thank you. I love getting stoned. I love getting stoned. I love getting stoned. You know what I don't love, though? Rapists, which is the perfect segue for the next topic. All right. Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1. Action. You know, guys, it's an unfortunate reality that here on the online left, really large, influential, positive influences for left-wing politics that have broad appeal are few and far between. And there's been a long trend of people who seem to meet all of those parameters, repeatedly proving themselves to put it lightly, not meet those parameters, time and time again. Obviously, TYT used to be the biggest left-wing media online news source on, like, YouTube and the internet and whatnot. And recently they've gone massively downhill with a much more right-wing tilt. And, you know, Hasan himself, who came from TYT, has gone basically full mask-off tanky. Well, I wouldn't say that, but much more mask-off with his tankyisms than usual. Oh, hey, Vosh Raid, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Vosh. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully you enjoy your time here. We're just about to get into an interesting topic, and I'm leading into it a little bit, so, you know, but bear with me. It's been an unfortunate trend of people who seem to be very positive influences for left-wing politics just getting exposed as awful people through one way or another. And possibly the best example of this was Andrew Callahan. This story is somewhat, like, a little bit personal to me because I actually know someone who is victimized to a degree by Andrew Callahan's creepy, rapey behavior. And I know this person never came public with, like, any big, like, public accusations against him. It was literally just surprisingly casually dropped in a conversation with someone I trust very well, or a lot, who has no benefit to lying about this and, like, didn't make any public statements and thus, like, wasn't clout chasing. There was like no motivation for this to be a lie, and was also able to corroborate some of the other stories and other allegations as well. But this person also doesn't want to get shit or attention for this, so doesn't want to be named. That said, I know for a fact the allegations against Andrew Callahan are all 100% real and true. It's just that simple. My proximity to certain people let me in on forbidden knowledge. I know for 100% certainty, without a doubt, he did it. Yeah, it's just that simple. There's not a shred of doubt. That said, basically about... Holy crap, that's a big viewer jump. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. Roughly a year and a half ago, if I were to ballpark it, I actually don't have the best memory in regards to these things when it comes to timelines. Andrew Callahan was the biggest and brightest star in left-wing YouTube. And he was very clearly left-wing in his politics. He was making very regular videos that would go massively viral, all centered around exposing mostly crazies on the right. The videos performed extraordinarily well, and they had broad reach. Asmongold, a big mainstream normie streamer with arguably somewhat right-leaning politics and a right-leaning audience, would watch the videos, and it was very clear they were having a certain amount of influence on the biases of the people that watched them in regards to maybe the left aren't the crazy ones. It was such a common reaction to those videos, was maybe the left aren't the crazy ones. And, you know, for a long time, things were all well and good until some allegations came out that Andrew Callahan would be... Well, that Andrew Callahan was a rapist. Now, obviously, when the vast majority of people think of rape, they think of, like, essentially the opening to a Law & Order SVU episode, like, lady walking down an alley and then gets, like, overpowered and, like, forced upon or whatever. But in reality, the majority of the time, it tends to be a little bit less straightforward than that, but just as violating and horrific. In the case of Andrew Callahan, he had a tendency to pressure particularly women, but not just women, generally femme-presenting people, as he would pressure them into sexual situations, oftentimes through misleading them about his intentions beforehand, getting them into a situation where they felt there was no way out, like socially, other than having sex with him. And then in some cases, he would even try to pressure women into sex with him and multiple, like him and a other guy and stuff like that. Like, he was just a sex pest who just got off on pressuring women into doing things they weren't comfortable doing. So yeah, just a pretty big, massive piece of shit. He would guilt trip and manipulate women into giving consent, quote unquote, though that's not obviously not consent, but it's something that he could, I guess, justify as being consent. There were literally numerous people who came forward with allegations, and while I don't have the entire brunt of it all memorized at this moment, it was just a pretty big wake-up call for a lot of the left. That this guy maybe wasn't the best of dudes. And there were, of course, people who defended him and wanted to believe that the allegations were false, but as more and more people came forward and corroborated each other, it just became clear this wasn't some broad, grandiose attempt to clout chase off of the downfall of a popular lefty figure. There was very clearly at least a little bit of truth to all this, and I can attest that this was all true as well, considering I've got forbidden lore at my disposal. Anyway, all that said, about 9 months ago, all this came forward, and he basically got, like, chased off the internet, not too dissimilar to how, what was his name from Chapo Trap House? The guy who got exposed as a groomer, who's, like, literally been gone forever. Virgil Texas. Virgil Texas was the Chapo Trap House guy who did the podcast with Brianna Joy Gray, who has been literally completely absent from the internet and the entire world for years now, since he was exposed as a pedo by one of his fans that he was grooming, one of his underage fans. That was Bad Faith Pod. I swear Virgil Texas was on Chapo Trap House. Like, maybe this is before some of you guys' time, but like 2019 era, I'm pretty certain he was on Chapo Trap House. At least as a guest very regularly, if not a host. Chat, is Chapo good? Not anymore. There's one good episode of Chapo Trap House that I can endorse, and that's the one they did on the villages. Okay, Hunga Master is confirming I'm right. A lot of you guys are literally just baby lefties who weren't around in 2019, and you guys hear me, like, explain something from the deep lore, and you're like, what? Nuh-uh. The villages? Oh, boy, you guys don't know about the villages. I'm not going to get stun-locked on this. Anyway, we thought Andrew Callahan was gone, that he had slinked back into some dark, damp, dingy corner of the internet, to escape ridicule for the allegations that have come out against him. And he did for like 9 months until today. Literally 5 hours before I started my stream, he uploaded a video. Q Shaman Comes Home. It's 30 minutes and has right now, as it stands, a pitiful for his sub count and his previous growth and viewer count, 196,000 views. Granted, that is still nearly 200,000 either A, uninformed, or B, people who don't care that he's a rapist, individuals who are still watching his content. Yeah, the QAnon Shaman is free. But, but still, it's a very clear, massive drop in his channel performance. He is fucking done. Like, he is done as far as YouTube channels go. You cannot recover from the amount of percentage-wise drop in viewership that he has had. Yeah, that sounds about right, KCOM Red Robin Hood. They're pretty awful now. However, we're not going to watch the new Andrew Callahan video. You see, I want to give you guys a little bit of positivity. I know that a lot of you have probably felt maybe a little empty, if that sounds right. Like, maybe a little empty since Andrew Callahan and his particularly unique and fun kind of content became gone from the internet, and the only way to watch it now is to basically support a rapist. I thought, why not suggest to you guys a channel that does a really, really good job of scratching that itch, but is not run by a rapist. Allow me to introduce you to a massively underrated channel by the name of Walter Masterson. He makes videos where he trolls conservatives at events, and he does it pretty well, and it's really fun. So his most recent video is Trolling Moms for Liberty at Central Bucks School Board. Let's check this one out. Might as well take a look at his most recent video. If you guys have felt empty since Andrew Callahan got exposed as a rapist and you want to see some videos that kind of scratch that itch, here is a great channel for you guys to check out.
Were meant for 16 to 18-year-olds. What an obvious attempt. Shut the fuck up. Oh.
When I look around this room, I don't see race. I don't even know what race is. So when you say things like slavery is bad, I'm like, bad for who? The Irish?
Where's the comedian? Right next to you. Oh, you're going to come make fun of parents tonight. That's fun. Thank you. You'll be making fun of me. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very classic.
They've started recognizing him in public and getting really mad when they see him.
In my school district to help your career?
What? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why he's taking videos of the prayers so he
let's
can make fun of the religious people.
Oh, that's
Are they
nice.
praying? Oh.
We don't yet.
Well, it's freedom of speech.
It sure is.
Yeah, sure.
You know, establishment clause.
From New York to make fun of parents.
All the way from New York.
That's nice. Because you're here to make fun of parents, right, in Central Bucks School District. Do you mind if I take your pictures with nails that the New York comedians do?
You can do that.
The New York comedian.
Let's do that as one post together. We have a politician here campaigning for a commissioner seat. And
I like how the foot fetishists in chat are all just saying 2 out of 10 feet.
comedian from New York, all at Central Bucks School District tonight.
I know.
No, he's the comedian. He's just here to make fun of parents. Him. He's the comedian. What's his name?
I heard about that.
Walter. Yeah, he thinks
Walter.
it's funny when
I don't know
our
if
children go to
I don't know
school.
if that's really his name.
Use it as like a joke. It's like funny.
Yeah.
It's real funny. Who's coming next? The Biden? Is he showing up? Is he walking in here? Who's coming? You like that one? That was good. I'm like a comedian too.
You are.
These candidates lie and try to convince you of a book ban and that their rival candidates do not support LGBTQ students simply because they do not support.
Oh my god, look at this, like, mini Lauren Boebert. I swear to god, they always... There's a factory somewhere pumping these women out. These conservative, like, 40-something-year-old women are being produced somewhere from a factory. They're not real humans. They're cyborgs. They're droids, like from Detroit Become Human. They're not sentient. They've been programmed.
Allowing sexually explicit material within our schools. There is no book ban. There never has been. There is a common sense policy allowing the removal of inappropriate sexually explicit materials from our schools.
There is no book ban. There never has been. There is a common sense policy allowing the removal of inappropriate sexually explicit material.
There is no book ban. There never has been. There is a common sense policy allowing the removal of inappropriate sexually explicit materials from our schools. That is it.
Voters need to ask why these candidates are so hell-bent on providing sexually explicit materials to minor children within our schools, and why this is the lifeblood of their campaign. Why do they believe graphic images of men giving another man a blowjob is so critical to the education of our children? But that's...
This isn't real, by the way. My understanding of when conservatives refer to this idea that, like, there's children books in schools that show, like, how to give a blowjob to another man. Well, if you find something like that in the school library, it's because a kid brought it to school and put it there as like, a funny joke, because that's the kind of thing that, I think even elementary schoolers would find fucking hilarious. But is probably referring to, like, sex education. Like, and probably high school sex education. Because, like, listen, guys, as much as you may get, like, iffy around conversations around sex education and minors, the reality is that the younger that minors are given some basic form of sex education, at the very least being explained, hey, these are your no-no areas. If an adult touches you here, you need to find a trusted adult, such as your parents, tell them immediately, and seek, like, and have them call 911. The rate of sexual exploitation of children drops massively the sooner that some basic level of sex education is introduced into their curriculum. The truth is that kids sometimes don't know when they're being sexually exploited or abused, and when they're very young is when they're the most vulnerable to this, and there is a reason why conservatives don't want kids that young getting that education. It's called pedocon law, and it's very true, and it's very real, and it's proven true constantly.
What these Democrat school board candidates think.
They had a security guard try to kick me out of the meeting for not wearing a mask, which I had a mask on. They had
For the record, it's a very, like, American-centric thing to be as, like, ridiculously terrified of children being exposed to, like, nudity, for example, as we are. Like, in Europe, apparently, like, nude beaches are really common, and, like, they allow minors at them, which is just fucking wild to me. Like, as an American, the thought of that is fucking unreal. That is an unreal idea to me as an American. Apparently that's real in Europe. Are there any Europeans in chat that can confirm that? Don't commercials for shampoo even show a little nudity in Europe? Is that true? I didn't know that. Pedocon law recently became the 5th fundamental force of our universe? Yeah, that's true. We figured that out.
a security guard follow me around the building, and I wanted to know who runs the county Twitter account. Nobody would answer me. Bob Harvey wouldn't answer me. So I went up. They have an information window that you can get information from.
By the way, these crazy moms who are just, like, bored while their husbands are out, like, being cops, abusing black people or whatever, they're literally running for the school board of your local schools and winning because it's so low effort. If they can do it, you can do it. Run for your local school board. Run for your local town office. You get so much local power if you win, and it's so easy. You guys want to know what the average amount spent apparently on local mayoral elections for small towns is? 20 grand. You know what the crazy thing as well is? If you run as a Democrat, you can contact your local Democratic Party. They'll have a center in your town probably, if not a local town. Tell them you want to run as a Democrat, and they may help fund your campaign. You may not have to pay out of pocket. You could, like, if you plan to run as a Democrat, you could get your local Democratic Party to fund your campaign if you can get them to make you their candidate. And depending on how small the pool of potential options is, you might be literally the only option they have to pick and, like, win that opportunity by default. Like, so many of you guys are discounting how relatively easy it is to get into these positions. There's a reason why these nut jobs are able to, like, end up on the, like, local school board, okay? It's not that hard. If they can do it, you can.
And they sent a security officer to follow me around to
Doesn't matter, Filthy. It's worth trying.
tell me to leave.
Biological sex is an immutable characteristic, which includes inherent advantages or disadvantages in athletics, and they cannot be erased by hormone-suppressing drugs. Males and females are different. Those who deny this are putting the safety of female athletes at risk. Walter here?
Yes.
By the way, they always say safety of female athletes is the thing that they're fighting for, and yet they've enforced the gender segregation and the banning of trans people from chess. How are women in danger from playing professional chess against someone they consider to be a man? It's not about women's safety. How are women less safe swimming against someone they consider a man? There's no fighting in swimming. They're trying to moralize this in a way that's extraordinarily dishonest, when the reality is a fraction of popular sports even involve physical contact between players and, like, could potentially involve an injury due to the other person involved being too strong. Like, it's a complete, like, just dog shit take that's attempting to moralize bigotry. Or not more like make bigotry look like a morally justifiable position. Oh, here he is now.
I'm here today to talk about these woke schools that are failing to educate our children. Why aren't we teaching our kids science and math? Is it because we can't pay for science and math teachers after the school superintendent voted to give himself a 40% raise? No! Is it because Moms for Liberty is actively campaigning for school board seats, targeting teachers they don't like? No! Is it because the district is being sued by its own teachers over equal pay? No. The real reason kids aren't learning is socialism. When I was in elementary school, I had a teacher who would reward his favorite male students by taking us on camping trips. Sometimes I was such a good student that it would just be me.
I love the ones so mad they're getting up and leaving. Oh, it's so good.
Trip. But now, because of gender ideology, that same teacher isn't allowed within 500 feet of a school, and the police took away his van and confiscated his guns. When I look around this room, I don't see race. I don't even know what race is. So when you say things like slavery is bad, I'm like, bad for who? The Irish? I brought with me today a book that is available to children of all ages in the school's library. This book is filled with overt sexual acts, violence. It celebrates mass killings, and it's being used to indoctrinate our children.
It's gonna be the
I'm
Bible.
gonna read you some passages from this book, and you tell me whether or not this book is appropriate for your children. The Lord tried to kill Moses, but Zipporah used a sharpened stone and cut off their son's foreskin and rubbed the bloody ring on Moses' feet, saying, "You are now my bridegroom." This made the Lord leave Moses alone. If a slave owner beats a slave, male or female, with a stick so severely that the slave dies immediately, the slave owner should be punished. However, if the slave survives a day or two, he should get back to work. The slave is the owner's property. The Lord regretted ever creating human beings, and he...
Man, the Bible is pretty fucked up, huh? Isn't it wild how, despite all of the virtue signaling about how you should just let people have their religious beliefs and leave them alone and whatnot, and you shouldn't judge them for it, if they actually, like, build their worldview around this book, they're probably not the best person. like, is actually not the most crazy of takes. Like, isn't that crazy how it's maybe not the most crazy of takes to think someone who builds their worldview around unironically, literally believing this book is the word of God, an omnipotent almighty being who cannot be disagreed with unless you go to hell for all eternity. Like, maybe believing those people are nut jobs who shouldn't be respected and allowed to have power isn't as crazy of a take as like normies who say, I don't mind people who have religious values, let them believe what they want, would have you believe. It's actually kind of fucking insane when you really think about it.
It was sad, so the Lord said, I will wipe all the human race off the face of the earth. And while I'm at it, I'll kill the livestock and the crawling things too. I'll even kill all the birds in the sky. I wish I...
Yeah, let's be clear. There's a reason why most, like, nice church people that you know, because I've known many nice Christians, by the way, that are genuinely good people, have not read the Bible cover to cover. They go to church, and they listen to their pastor read specific Bible passages. Because if they sat and they read it like cover to cover, there'd be some stuff in there that they would not be able to reconcile. At least there's a few people I can think of that, like, if I was mean enough to be like, so how do you feel about that part in the Bible with the thousands of foreskins getting cut off and, like, put in a bag? Like, I'm curious, like, what was your reaction when you read that? Because I genuinely could not imagine you ever knowing that was a thing in the Bible. You're like that there are people I know that are like that. Weren't preachers originally the only ones even allowed / able to read and interpret the Bible? So, to be clear, the Bible as we know it today is literally an English translation of something that has been reinterpreted and retranslated a million times from multiple, like, ancient languages. The original writing of the Bible was not in English, was not only not written in English, so I need you to understand, it was written in Sanskrit, but it was written by people in a different language a long time ago. So you know how a long time ago people talked funny? Like, even if they were speaking English, they still talked funny and it was hard to understand what they were saying even though they're speaking English? They were speaking a different language and talking funny for that language because it was so long ago. So the amount of Sanskrit is Hindu? I'm sorry, I don't know what the original thing was written in. I was going off of chat. Anyway, regardless, the amount of interpretations that have been taken off of, it was probably written in Latin, you're right. The amount of interpretations that have been taken from the Bible is wild. There are people who study the Bible literally to try to figure out different, like, what's the word for it? Linguistic interpretations of certain things. One thing that I saw recently that was very interesting was in regards to the passage that refers to the creation of Eve. A lot of misogynist Christians use the story of the creation of Eve as justification for the idea that women are lesser than men, because the idea was that Eve was made from a rib of Adam, which is like a small piece of a man, right? So that's the proportion of how much a woman is worth to a man, would be like the biblical interpretation you could make from that, and many do. When in reality, if you look at the original or most original obtainable writings of that passage, a much more realistic interpretation of that translation is actually that he took half of Adam, like split him in half, and made her. So it's not that a woman is half of a man, but it's that Adam was the original, like, human, like a perfect human, who was then split in half and made into two humans, both equal to each other because they're from the same half of a perfect human that existed before. That's a pretty fair, like, that's a pretty interesting interpretation of it, and it doesn't surprise me that that people have would interpret that in a way that's more favorable to misogyny. I don't know. This is a massive stemlock, but I heard that recently. And I thought it was interesting.
Never created any of them in the first place. Now, do you think a child should be reading this book full of sexual violence and genocide. I hope this book is banned.
Here's a YouTube short of someone explaining it, probably the one you saw.
You've probably heard.
Oh yeah, I think it was this one.
Heard that Eve was formed from one of Adam's ribs, but the reason behind that translation choice might be misogyny. Wait.
Whoa.
What? Yeah, in the Bible, there's actually a proper anatomic word for a rib bone. It's the Aramaic Allah, and we see it in places like Daniel, where a bear has 3 rib bones in his mouth. But in Genesis, when Eve is being formed, it says that God took a sela from Adam. And this word is never translated as rib anywhere else in the Bible. In all 40 other instances, it's either translated as half or side. Like in Exodus 37, the Ark of the Covenant has 2 separate sides, or the 2 sides on the split door that leads into Solomon's temple. But, you know, if you're interested in...
It's always used to describe a side or a fraction of an equally geometrically even thing if you were to split it down the center, like a doorway with 2 equally geometric doors, or like the Ark of the Covenant, which is like a coffin type thing, which is pretty geometrically centered. So it literally, more accurately, even by the Bible's standards, going off of the Bible, translates to half. Half of a side of Adam was literally split in half to make Eve.
Promoting a worldview
is the
in
proper
which women
translation,
are
I
subordinate
guess.
to men. It doesn't really help you to have an origin story where Eve comes from an equal part of Adam. You kind of like the vibe of Eve coming from this tiny, insignificant rib. And so...
There you go. So yeah. Even the translation, English translations of the Bible you get today are like massively biased by people who interpreted them, who'd had awful beliefs.
And all the way from K through 12. Books don't belong here at all. This is a place of learning. Ban this book, and let's focus on science, math, and raising administrators' pay. Thank you. Thank you.
There's like a few people that were there to actually make the point that he's there to argue for that are clapping for him. I like that. They're not the majority of the people in the room.
1964. There can be.
Anyway, I didn't want to show the whole video because I don't want to just, yoink his entire video or anything, but I really think you guys should check out this channel. It will absolutely quench that itch you might have for the type of content Andrew Callahan did, but you don't have to support a rapist. So go send some love over to his channel. He's got 138,000 subscribers, which is about 10 billion less subs than he deserves. So go over there. Go send the support. Go do it. Go subscribe. Go comment nice things and say you came from me. But yeah, I hope you guys are able to have a little bit of a silver lining from this whole Andrew Callahan situation by maybe discovering a new YouTuber that perhaps you'll like even more. What do you guys think of that segment? I think it came out pretty good. I came from watching? Thanks. I'm glad to know. Someone's definitely nutted watching my streams before at least once. Probably more than once, but it's definitely happened. Someone's definitely jacked off to my streams before. Can confirm. Oh. Everyone's gonna Pepe post in the chat now. Where did that come from? So, did you guys know there was literally a channel, or not a channel, there was an account on YouTube that would comment timestamps on every VOD for every time I would stand up. And you could see my, like even the slightest hint of a bulge in my pants. So yeah, I definitely think somebody's jacked off watching my streams before, personally, I think. I think that's probably happened. Did you ban that person? No. I thought it was funny. Diabolical link. That's awful. Where? Dude, my Honey Pop streams were so fucking funny. Literally some of the funniest content that I've ever live streamed were the streams of Honey Pop. Those were pretty, like, top tier. If you haven't seen them yet, there's a compilation video, like, series of my adventures through Honey Pop 1 and 2, and they're really fucking funny. Midnight Kitty Boy, thank you for the $15. I really appreciate it. So thanks for the advice. Advice on what? It's been a little while since you donated that, so I've long forgotten what that's in reference to. If you could actually clarify, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Midnight Kitty Boy. I really appreciate that. It really, really does mean a lot to me and helps a whole bunch. On the date? Oh, the date? Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I was able to help you. I haven't finished, but I've gotten... Damn it. Xanderhall, tomorrow me and the other lifeguards are doing drylands. Oh, hell yeah. Good shit. We love drylands. Unironically, I loved drylands when I was on the swim team. They were fun. I enjoyed the fuck out of them. Even though they were harder, like, workouts, you got to talk to your, like, swim teammates and your friends in the swim team while working out, which made it so much more fun, you know? Because, like, when you're swimming laps, you can't talk. So you're literally just sitting there with nothing but the sound of water whooshing through your ears, which is quite loud, by the way. And, like, you know what you get really good at when you're on the swim team? Like, hearing songs in your head. You will literally listen to music before you go to swim, so you can have it perfectly stuck in your head to play in your head while you're swimming. Because it's like the closest you can get unless you've got like waterproof AirPods to listen to music while you're swimming. Because like, you'll do like your coach when you're on the swim team will say, swim a 500 warm-up. That's gonna, like a 500 warm-up is gonna take like 10-15 minutes. Because you're not like swimming at your hardest, you're warming up. So you're just at a like nice steady pace. That's just like 15 minutes of treading water with your face underwater. Like that, you can't stop and talk to your friends. You're bored as fuck for 15 minutes of silence of just swimming. Hey Voshites, if you donate to Zan, you get us to $300 he puts on the kitty suit. No, I did not put on a kitty suit. That is not real. I should hit up the men on swim team at my university. You know, listen, I can personally attest that there are a lot of exercises that you do from swimming that make you good at sex. Trust me. That like there's some motions you get really good at from swimming that make you really good at sex. I'm talking about the dolphin kicks. The dolphin kicks, dude. When you've done hundreds or thousands and thousands of dolphin kicks, dude, your ability to, like, do this with your entire pelvic region is, like, maximized. It's like, you know how, like, Adventure Time characters can noodlefy their entire body? You can do that. And believe me, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. Hey, Zan's mom, who's probably watching the stream. Yeah, I hope not. Man, I need to start swimming Peepo Run. Good memes. Okay. With all that said, I think that is where I'm going to wrap up stream today. It's quite late, and I have plans to start stream earlier tomorrow so we can cover more stuff and do more segments, but today was a pretty damn good stream, and we covered a lot more topics in a much less time than I thought we were going to. It's only been about 3 hours. So yeah, guys, it's been really fun. By the way, though, for a little bit of a cooldown, you know how like on the swim team you got warm up, you got cooldown, or at least I did. That was my experience. We're gonna do a little cooldown, little mini non-video segment before we wrap up stream. For those that may not have noticed, we've got a lot of new viewers here that came from Vosh's stream. Welcome, everybody. Consider subscribing and dropping a like. You can see I've got a dono goal down there. And if you want to contribute to that, feel free. You don't have to, though. Just dropping a like really does help a lot. I'm currently saving up money to move in December. January 1st is my last day in my current place, so I'm looking for new places, and I'd like to be able to move into a house with a backyard. Not like buying a house, but renting a house with a backyard so that I can raise quail. My uncle's done it, and he taught me how, and I've educated myself on it quite substantially, and I've raised some interesting pets in the past, so I'm aware. I'm quite aware of my abilities when it comes to raising animals, so I'm sure it'll be fine. And the idea of raising quail is particularly appealing because they're a game bird, one, so you can use them for meat if worse comes for worse, though I wouldn't be using them for that. They also provide an absurd amount of eggs. By that I mean, after 8 weeks old, a quail hen lays 1 to 2 eggs per day. One to two per day after 8 weeks old. They hatch 8 weeks later, 1 to 2 eggs a day. There's going to be too many eggs, which means I'm going to be eating a lot of eggs and fried rice to bulk up. So that's awesome. But how big are they? Well, the eggs themselves are roughly this big. You get a special cracker. The thing is, I'm going to have 8 quail. Legally, within the borders of the city of Seattle, you can have 8 quail. No more than 8 quail. But that's fine. That's still 8 to potentially, if they all lay 2 a day, that is potentially 16 eggs a day on like the best of days. And there's been cases where quail hens will lay 3 eggs in a day. So like, it's going to be way too many eggs, because like, they're going to lay 8 minimum a day, and after a week, that's a lot of fucking eggs. Anyway, yeah, like if you have 9 quail, are they going to be like, you're going to jail? Like, how dare you? You went over the limit, you know? But I wanted to show you a video that gives you a great idea of what kind of content you guys can expect. This is how quail clean themselves. They don't use water, they use sand, like sandbox sand, fine dust sandbox sand, and they take dust baths. Prepare for some cuteness. These are the same type I'll be raising, Jumbo Caternix quail. They're like little bird chinchillas. Yep. They're pretty small and very quiet. I would die for them. They're very, very awesome. They can't fly really either. They've got like a little 6-foot fly jump they can do, but that's it. Which means you either have to have a 7-foot tall thing to house them in, or they'll fly up in the air if they get spooked and break their neck and die, or make it so short that they'll never even try to jump, and then you're good. So yeah. The type of like thing you have to hold them in has to be special. That person is more than 8? Well, that's not in Washington. Here, let me show you something else. Quail incubation timeline. First time hatching Caternix quail eggs.
Incubator, it's on, what is it, day...
I would be ordering eggs off the internet, incubating them, hatching them, and then raising them. So it would be...
now? Yeah. Okay. Today is lockdown day.
It would be pretty fucking awesome. It would be a pretty cool, like, thing that I could just have a quail incubator next to me on camera, and you guys would be able to see, like, day by day, the like, progress of the quail eggs, and then eventually, maybe even on stream, they would hatch. He's doing the Zan pose. I literally posed like this for one photo, and now it's the Zan pose.
We're gonna take the egg turner out, and we're gonna put them in the tray and just let them sit for the next few days. They're going to be hatching soon, hopefully. We've been keeping an eye on them. The incubator's been doing really good. It's been holding a steady temperature. We have tried candling them a couple times. And we're afraid that we don't have a big success rate on this batch. But it's not surprising since we've had...
It's not the best incubator.
We had some cracked ones in the mail. I even read that a lot of shipped eggs have like a 50% hatch rate, so obviously if they come all smashed up, it's going to be worse than that. So we're going to take this out, and we'll try to candle them right here. And we're just going to keep the ones in that are worth keeping in.
So, okay, we don't need to watch the candling process. I'd make it way more interesting. Let's watch the hatching process. All right, here's one that's just hatched out of an egg.
See it back there?
That is so cool. Right on day 18.
We were not expecting that at all.
The first
Hey,
one.
it's stuck to the shell.
It's okay.
It'll get out.
Today is June 4th. So it's when they were supposed to hatch.
It's got to stretch. Gain its
at
strength.
least one hatched. That's awesome.
Wow, Ashley's been we've both been checking this all day, and they've been just still nothing happening.
Yeah. I always stare at them to see if I can see them moving, and nothing.
And then Belle came in the house. We thought she
You
was
need to have
pranking us.
more
She
than
comes
one
out, she
quail.
says,
Like, the thing is, you can't just have one quail. It'll be like, after not too long, it'll be lonely and miserable. They're pretty social. So you have to have at least 2 or 3. Like, so if you want to incubate enough eggs that you have a pretty reliable success rate that at least 2 will hatch. Because they're pretty social birds.
The quail are hatching. The eggs are hatching.
Can you believe your incubator worked? That's cool.
Shipped quail eggs have about a 50% hatch rate. So if I'm probably going to start by incubating 16, see how many hatch, and if we need more, then we'll raise more. If I get too many, then I will literally just give them away to a farm nearby. Like, there's plenty of farms that raise quail in Washington. I've already found several that I might buy my eggs from. So I would literally just give them the extra one. And I don't want roosters. So if I get roosters, I'd give them to me. I wouldn't want to give them away to fans, because then I feel like giving animals away to fans is like the biggest scandal ever just waiting to happen.
Yeah. Really cool. Too bad so many of them didn't make it, but...
So how long do we leave the chicks in there when they hatch?
I don't know. I think we'll just leave it for a little while. Well,
You don't know? Dude, it's for 2 days. It's until they're down as nice and fluffy and they're walking around. That's when you move them into a breeding box, or a brooding box, sorry. And you have to teach them how to eat. You put a little bit of their feed on the ground, and if it's got a splayed leg, you want to give it a little bit of a higher calcium one. But assuming it's a breeding box, assuming it's a fairly healthy one, you don't see any problems with it. These birds generally need a pretty decent balance of protein and calcium. So just give them some chick starter feed, and you want to show them how to eat. You have to teach them how to eat. A lot of chicks are like this when they're first born. You have to imitate what their mother would do and tap the food with your finger to get them to start doing it, and eventually they'll stuff a little in their mouth and they'll realize, oh, that's food, because they're just dumb little stupid babies. So you have to teach them to eat, and you have to make sure they don't drown. Their drinking apparatus has to be special. You have to make sure it's impossible for them to drown, because if they can drown, they will drown.
Look it up.
Aww.
We woke up to another quail. Now we have 2.
Aww.
Yep. And this egg right there has a hole in it.
It's pipping. That one's pipping.
So hopefully he's okay.
Man, they pop out so fast.
That one too.
We watch and we can't
This
catch
one and
them.
that one are about to hatch.
Yeah. So we have the brooder all set up.
There we go.
We decided to go with the tote because
They got what they
it
need.
felt like a better size than the big
All
trough.
right. They're doing one thing pretty horribly wrong here. And it may not be a big deal because they do have the lamp pretty high. But even if you have a smaller setup like this, it is imperative that your brooder box has a cold side and a warm side, or you may cook your quail or any type of chick. So you would want to take this heat lamp and shine it on the right wall, for example, because you don't want to like overheat the water in the food. And you would make this side or like third of the bin the warm area. So if they get overheated, they can go to the other side and have a sit down and cool off, because it is warm under a heat lamp. If you put your hand under there, you're going to start to feel like uncomfortably warm after a while. They need to be able to go in and out of the warmth. So just putting it over the thing entirely is literally turning the entire thing into like one of those ovens that they cook hot dogs in at a gas station. I don't think these quail are going to die, but, you know, seriously, do your research.
We have that we use for our chickens.
So yeah, we just set it up really quick. We had this lamp from the chicken setup. We just got some fine pine bedding and picked up these feeder in the water just today.
Yep.
This is a little quail waterer. And we bought the jars at Goodwill, so they were 69 cents each. And then
these are good feeders, though.
We picked those up at Track.
This thing very steadily drips like the tiniest little bit of water into a little like dish that they cannot get their head to fit into, or like their body to fit into to drown. So they can just peck up water very little bits at a time, which means, you know, it's frustrating for them, I imagine, but they can't drown in it. And this is for preventing a mess, because they're pretty messy birds when they eat. They just splash food everywhere, but they just eat like seed feed, so it's not really like that big a deal. But yeah.
Water supply.
And we had another...
They're babies. They don't know better. They'll just drown because they don't know what water is and what drowning is. They'll just get into water that's too deep for them and realize, oh, fuck, I'm going to die. I shouldn't have done this, and then it's over. So yeah, they're dumb little babies. You got to keep them safe. You have to baby-proof their box.
Little guy hatch.
And we have one more on the way that we see.
And hopefully more. So we're looking to at least get 4. Probably more, but we'll see. They're really cute, really tiny.
I can't even swim as an adult. Holly, I gotta teach you how to swim. Because I won't just teach you how to swim like, oh, I can doggy paddle to shore. I would be able to teach you how to like swim, as in like outswim your friends when you go to the beach. That's always the most fun thing. Like you go to the beach when you like know how to swim, and you like go to the beach or the pool with your friends, and like they want to go like, hey, let's go check out that thing over there. And it's like, okay, when are you guys going to get over here? And they're like, like doing some shitty forward crawl or doggy paddling over to you at like a quarter mile an hour.
Up so they can see it.
Yeah.
I don't want it hopping out. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to dolphin
Tiny,
kick, Holly.
tiny.
It's hell.
It's amazing how they're packed in those little eggs.
So they're doing really good. They seem healthy. They seem happy. They haven't started eating or drinking yet, but that we
You gotta
just got
teach them how to eat.
Yeah.
Do you want to show them the food that we got?
Yeah. So quail need a really high protein food, and we had a hard time finding anything at Rural King. They
Rural
didn't have
King's
like
a good
anything
place.
there.
So we drove down
I like
to
Rural
Tractor
King.
Supply.
I bought my gun at Rural King. It's they literally have everything there. It's perfect. I literally bought my gun at Rural King.
And they actually had a better selection. They had this game bird, showbird.
Rural King also has no firearm transfer fees, by the way. So if you buy a gun online and you go to like pick it up, like get it shipped to like a Rural King as like an FFL, and you go to pick it up, no transfer fees. So you're telling me you can go pick up a gun and quail food at the same place? You can do it in the same trip if you have your concealed weapons license in Florida. I am now a concealed weapons license holder in Florida, and I used my concealed weapons license in Florida to register for my concealed pistol permit here in Washington State. So that's been sent off, and I'm waiting on the approval on that. That takes up to 90 days. So now that I've got my CWL in Florida and it's approved and I've got it and everything, I can literally walk into any gun store in Florida, buy any gun if I've got the money for it, and walk out of it right after the background check. I still have to fill out the paperwork and you know, they still do like the background check, so I gotta wait there like 5 to 10 minutes, then they come out and they're like, all right, you're all good. Here you go. Double check this info to make sure it's all right, and you look at some paperwork and make sure that all the info you filled in that they've finalized on that paperwork is correct and there's no mistakes there. And then they have the manager usually, like they have like someone come and like double check it for a final time, and then you walk out with your gun. And if you don't have a concealed pistols or concealed weapons license, at least in Florida, you go in, you pick your gun, you pay for it, background check, sign all the paperwork, walk out, wait 3 days, come back 3 business days later, and then you have to like do all the following steps that I said, and then you walk out with your gun. What the fuck? I've never heard of Rural King until now. It might just be a Florida thing. It might literally just be only in Florida for all I know, or just like Florida and Georgia and a lot of the South. But yeah, no, Rural King is a staple of the South from where I come from. Also, they have popcorn machines right up the front, so whenever you walk into a Rural King, usually, you can get yourself some movie theater style popcorn to eat while you walk around the store. It's very random and bizarre, but you know, it's nice.
Mix,
it's free.
Which is a 24% protein, which is good. And we got this to add to it to kind of supplement it and bring the protein up even more. This has a 29% protein. So we're going to do like 1 part of this to 9.
Needs some calcium feed in case one has a splayed leg or a bone issue. Anyway, I think that video does a good job of showing you like the potential and the dope quail content I could do. So yeah, if you want to support that, consider donating, because every little bit of support really does go a long way. With all that said, I feel like that's the end of our little stun lock on the quail, and the end of our little stream cooldown. It's been so nice having you all here today. Thank you all so much. Zan Rural King is all over. I thought till this guy I went hunting with was like, fuck is Rural King? Yeah, I would have thought it was all over too, but I haven't actually seen one in Washington, which sucks. The quail content will get you hella subs. I sure hope so. Oh, by the way, I have gotten back into Final Fantasy XIV now that I'm back from Florida and I have the time to play it again. So if you are somebody who's interested in getting into the critically acclaimed world-class MMO Final Fantasy XIV with a free trial all the way up to the award-winning Stormblood expansion, unlimited free playtime, and pretty much all the features all the way up into the 3rd expansion of the game completely free to download right now and play, then please consider checking out my free company. I've got a Discord for it, and I spend a pretty good amount of time in there, hanging out with people in the VC, playing with people, so consider getting into it. Join the free company. There's a link there. If you do FC in the chat, the Zanbot will post a link to join the Discord, so consider joining, because yeah, we're playing that Final Fantasy XIV. I've got a free company called Soul Strikers. There's 2 rules. Well, one of the rules is like a multi-ruled thing. You'll get it. If you play as a Lalafell and you do any form of ERP, you are insta-banned and I will call the police on you. If I see you ERPing with a Lalafell and you're not a Lalafell, I will ban you from that free company and call the police on you. Those are the rules. You can play a Lalafell, but you cannot sexualize it. You cannot do ERP with it. They are child-coded explicitly. The devs have confirmed this. You are a pedophile if you do that shit. I will not allow it in my free company. Number 2. Your last name in the game has to be Striker. For example, my name in the game is Xander, capital X, Striker, capital S. Striker. It must be spelled that way, and it must be properly caps, right? It's cap sensitive. You must have that name format to join the free company. We will not acquiesce on this rule. We've had so many people who've paid to change their names or even made whole new characters so they could follow that rule of the free company. If we change that rule now, it fucks them over. Massively. So, you have to have that name. If you've already got a character and you want to join, we're on the server Marlboro on the Crystal Data Center, I believe. So, yeah, with all that info, you should be able to join us. Just join the Discord server if you want to get more info. There's people there that will absolutely guide you on how best to get the game and install it and all that good stuff. So, I'll also drop a link to the free company in YouTube chat and in Twitch chat. I'm curious how many people joined, as a matter of fact. Let me check it right now. Oh, yeah, we're getting a couple people in. Love to see it. A couple of people are joining. So yeah, definitely consider joining because it's a fun time. And the story of FF14 is fantastic. The gameplay is pretty damn good. And it's just so fun. It's just such a fun time. So yeah, consider checking it out and consider joining us on there. It's free to play for literally hundreds of hours worth of content. So like, you're gonna know by the time you hit the end of the free-to-play trial whether or not you want to pay for the game. And even if you can't afford to, the amount of time you'll have gotten out of it for free will be well worth it. So yeah. Anyway, that's really all I have to say for today. So with all that said, thank you all so much for watching. I love you all so much. Thank you for the support. You are all amazing and awesome and beautiful. And, yeah. Have a good one.